What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite YouTuber, Austin Holloman, and we are back here in Sao Paulo. We'll be in Sao Paulo for a while, back with another interview. Did I mention I'm in my favorite country, by the way? I'm in my favorite country. And we have a guest today who, first of all, hit the like button if you have not already, but we have a guest today who's been to Medellin and a few other cities in Colombia and many cities in Brazil, and actually many places in South America, for what I've seen from following him over the years. And he has chosen Brazil to have his soon to be, I'm assuming, wife and his home base as well. So we are going to go ahead and bring him up and we're going to interview him about Medellin because he has more experience there, but he still chose the best place. We all know what the best place is, you guys. So we don't really need to explain more why it's the best place, but let's go ahead and bring him up. What's going on?
Yo, what's happening, man?
How you doing?
Boa tarde, irmão. Muito bom.
So first of all, let's answer the question very well. First of all, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and where you at.
So Rico is mi sobrenome. It's just a nickname that I adopted after moving to South America. But governments, Tyshawn Jones, originally from Jacksonville, Florida, and as Austin mentioned, now living in Rio de Janeiro. And I'm a software developer, which is how I'm able to live and work and travel.
Okay, so how long have you been a software developer?
Man, started that journey in February of 2013, so a little over 11 years now.
Okay, over 11 years. Okay, so is that the best route for men that want to be digital nomad, you would say?
I absolutely believe so. Because most people that are trying to get into IT to be able to work remotely, most of them are trying to get into security. They're trying to get into network engineering. But a lot of those jobs have geo restrictions where they don't really want you working overseas. And I think it's a lot easier to be able to get that situation to work and live abroad as a software engineer. It's just a little harder, which is why people typically stay away.
Oh, okay. I see. So to answer the question short for today, do you think that Brazil is better for black men or men in general to date as opposed to Colombia?
1,000%. I don't think it's close.
Why do you say that?
I think that, Brazil having the largest black population outside of the continent of Africa bodes very well for you, right? Because like a lot of my dating experiences in Colombia, I've had quite a few girls who say, oh, well, I only date black men exclusively. Most of those women have had some experience with a gringo, you know what I'm saying? He rocked their world and now they just on the black train and that's where they stay. But you also have a lot of the white Colombians who will say, yo, I don't date black men. You see that everywhere. I see that in Brazil as well. But I feel like it's a lot less of a problem here because there are so many black people that are exposed to it. It's, you know what I mean? It's just a better situation as a black man.
I could agree. I could agree that being black is a lot easier to date in Brazil as opposed to many other places in the world, unless if you're in Africa or somewhere like that. So my first question for you is how did the cultural expectations of Brazil influence the dating dynamic? I'm not in Brazil, in Colombia. How did the cultural expectations in Colombia influence the dating dynamics compared to the United States?
So one of the big things about Colombian and South American culture in general, but speaking of Colombia, they are so family oriented there, and there's a serious lack of feminism. So, feminism does exist there, but it is the women who subscribe to that school of thought are definitely the minority in that country. So, when I was younger, I remember growing up, 90s, early 2000s, as Black people, we had a sense of community. There was a barter and trade system. Hey, I need some eggs. I could trade you for some sugar. There was, we're having a neighborhood barbecue. Everybody's invited. Everybody from, the neighborhood comes and brings something. You see so much of that still in Colombia with the togetherness. And I think that influences the way that the women treat you. You know what I mean? So.
I would agree. So you think that Colombia is more of a place to build a, is it more likely that you could build a family in Colombia than Brazil?
I would say it's about equal in that regards, because the success that you have in that arena is going to be highly dependent on what type of woman that you choose and who you're able to attract.
Okay. Okay. So do you think feminism is heavier in Brazil than it is Colombia?
No, I think it's worse in Colombia.
Really? Why do you say that?
Um, I think that I see a lot more women who are of this mindset that, I don't really want to have to depend on a man. I would rather, get out here, work, get it on my own. And I don't think it necessarily influences the way that they treat you in a relationship, but that dynamic of just staying home, being a housewife. You'll find a lot of Colombian women that are with that motion, but you got to have the money to be able to back it up.
That mindset is very annoying, man. I have a chick here in Brazil that I've been talking to for 2 years now. Well, it'll be 2 years in October or November. And even just to like offer to pay for her flight, like she takes that as like a form of like she owes me something, and she doesn't want to feel like she has to pay me back. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like
Right.
it's just natural. I don't buy chicks out thinking that okay, I need my plane money back. I'm not taking you that feminism stuff can really get annoying, man. I can't stand it because
Right.
honestly, if you ask me, it makes women get kind of stupid. Like it's stuff that it's just stupid, man. It really is. So, man, just thinking about it, the logic is just so dumb.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like, the first world, Western countries bred that mentality, but the great day of reckoning is coming sooner than later, because all of this, hey, I'm not going 50-50. I've literally seen women in the States say, I would rather be single and pay 100% of my bills than go 50-50 with a man. And that's just ass backwards to me. I will never understand it. It's not logical. But with the economy and the inflation and the way things are going in the States right now, give it 5 to 10 years, people are not going to be able to afford to live on their own. And you're going to see a lot more women coming back to the table, erasing that mindset, doing the 180 because they don't have a choice. So,
And I'm just thinking, you got, so you don't want to do 50-50 and you want to be single and pay for your own stuff 100%. But if the man pays for your 100%, then he's controlling. So what options do you have left?
get on a plane.
I mean, so you can't pay because now you're a misogynist. She'd rather pay for herself than go half with you. So I'm trying to, I guess just don't fuck with men at all.
Right.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with it. So what were your initial impressions of the dating scene in Colombia when you first arrived?
So when I first arrived, first of all, I moved to a small city called Santa Marta. And I lived there for about a year. I lived in Medellin for about 4 or 5 months with my then girlfriend at the time. It's no secret. Everybody knows her. You've interviewed her before. And I will say that at first, I kind of had to depend on women who knew a little bit of English, right? That were bilingual, because I knew no Spanish. But it forced me to learn. Once I got really good at Spanish and was able to go out on dates where I didn't need a translator and I could really communicate, bro, a rotation was through the roof. You know what I'm saying? Like literally every city from Medellin, Barranquilla, Cartagena, Santa Marta, any of those places, man, that I've lived, I was able to successfully date because I knew Spanish. And a lot of the women wouldn't give me the time of day at first because they think, oh, you're just another gringo weekend warrior coming to smash the girls and go back home. But typically I would exchange Instagrams with them as well as WhatsApp. And once they started to follow me and watch my stories and see, oh, wow, he actually does live here. He's posting here every day. He knows Spanish. Then they will warm up. So I actually took that as a green flag. You know what I mean? That, you know, a lot of people will say, yo, you know, just get your passport, go overseas. These women are going to love you, as if they throw themselves at you just because you're American. I didn't find that to be the case at all. My success came from the work that I had to put in on myself to learn the language, to enjoy the culture. Like, I seriously love salsa music, great salsa dancer. Things like that will really open up the door for you.
So would you say it's the same thing? And I know the answer, but would you say it's the same thing like that in Rio?
Oh man, without a doubt. Like, yo, if you don't know Portuguese, these women are like deuces. They don't want to deal with you. They don't even want to talk to you. And I understand, because it's laziness. You know what I mean? I know cats has been coming down here 10, 20 years. I speak more Portuguese than them, and I've only been here a year. You know what I mean? And women see that as well. So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say that you're in Brazil to enjoy the culture and actually assimilate yourself into the community, and you can't even speak. It's just like the legal, let's say, Latin Americans that come to America and they can't leave their neighborhood. They're not really in the United States. They're just in their little Mexico or their little Colombia where they're at, because they don't speak English. So the
right.
minute you can't speak to Austin when you see him, yeah, I mean, now you can. I speak Spanish, so yeah, but before that, no. You can't really assimilate. Americans, for the most part, seems like we only know English. Because when we learn Spanish and Portuguese, like, oh, you know two, like that's damn near something to put on your resume to write to the president. Like, I speak 3 languages. As an American, that's a big deal. So
Bro, that shit is on my Instagram bio. Like, yo, I am trilingual, because it's a flex when you American.
yeah.
Like, we don't do that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we think the world revolves around us, so we only know English for the most part. So how approachable do you find, I mean, which one do you find more approachable, Colombian women or Brazilian women?
Just from I think it's about equal. You know what I mean? Like, quite a few of the women that I dated was strictly from cold approach, and I would see them on the street. I remember my guy Rich. We had a trip in Santa Marta, and we were sitting down at this restaurant, what is it? Punto Marino, something like that. Rodadero Beach in Santa Marta. We sitting there vibing, watching the NBA finals, and some chicks walk by on the beach. And I'm like, yo, you see that? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you want to see if they want to come up here and take a shot with us? He's like, bro, you know Spanish? Holla at them. So I asked him, hey, y'all want to come take a shot? Bro, chicks came up there, took a shot with us, spent the rest of the night with us. You know what I mean? One of the girls was like, hey, you like to smoke? I was like, yeah. She was like, well, I got some. Let's go smoke on the beach. I said, I'll do you
Wow.
one better. I'll match you. Let's go. And we literally just vibed the whole night like that. And I actually ended up dating this girl for quite a while. She was definitely on the team for a second. So I think
Wow.
the approachability is there in any of those countries, because if a woman sees an attractive man the same way as a man, you see an attractive woman, you're gonna want to approach them. You're gonna want to say something. But I would definitely say wait to see if you get some choosing signals, and don't come across as that thirsty guy trying to holler at everything you see. So
Yeah, I would agree. I used to strictly rely on choosing signals, but as I got back into my cold approaching habits, I still will approach if I feel like I just have to. But I look for body language, because I don't care what nobody says. If a chick is single and she's wanting to mingle, even if she doesn't see you, her body language comes off in a way that makes her available for men to cold approach her.
right.
Versus women that aren't looking for that. So where have you've been to? Peru, Uruguay, Argentina, Colombia, Brazil. Where else have you been to in Latin America?
Uh just those places. Yeah, you named them: Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, Peru, Colombia. And then I did a brief little couple days in Costa Rica, but hated it. But of course, that's Central America. But it's pretty much the depth of my travels outside of the States, other than some Caribbean islands and stuff on cruises. So.
I remember seeing that. So would you say that Colombians are the most approachable out of all those places in Latin America you went to?
I think so. I would definitely say so, because I remember I was like, okay, these are some examples of how understanding the culture can affect and change your experience. There was one time where I took a trip to Mexico. I come back with some Mexican pesos, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? I might as well exchange it into Colombian peso. So I'm walking around looking for an exchange house that can do this transaction. And I'm asking people on the street, and I'm getting frustrated because I feel like I'm getting the runaround. Everybody's like, oh, well, try this place. Or, well, maybe you should try this place over here. And I'm running around the city all day, right? And now I'm getting frustrated. Like, why doesn't anybody know where the hell, you know what I'm saying, this place is? It didn't dawn on me until later. You have to understand how they're telling you to go to this place. If they're saying, hey, try this, or, oh, maybe this, they don't know. They just want to help. And so what I realized at first, I'm like frustrated. But then when I realized that, no, this is just their culture. They're so nice. They don't want to say no. Like, they don't know the answer, but they want to try and help you anyway. And I feel like just certain little small things like that about the culture help you understand why the women are so approachable and nice. Even if they don't like you, they're not going to be rude, you know what I mean, if they shoot you down or whatever. So you could feel a lot more comfortable doing that than you could in America, for example. You on mute. You're on mute.
Okay, yeah, I would agree. You can keep your ego and get rejected in South America. You know, in the United States, you get rejected, man, they'll make you feel like you ain't shit. You know, so in South America, if you get rejected, you can be like, okay, that's fine. She just wasn't interested. Let me go to the next.
Exactly.
Stateside chicks will make you want to quit.
You're
so
right.
They'll make you want to quit. So how significant? So you already brought this next question up. You had to learn the local language. I was about to ask you how important is the language barrier in dating, but there's just certain things that you can't communicate properly through the translator. It's just good that you learn her language. So what are some social norms in dating that are specifically or unique to Colombia? What are some things that are normal there?
Like, if a girl in the States, if you invite her out on a date and say, you know what, let's go to this bar and let's go grab obrigado.
Obrigada.
If you ask her, my bad, my girl is bringing me a beer real quick. But if you ask a chick in the United States, hey, let's go out to a bar and grab a drink, and she responds with, okay, but is it okay if I bring my friends or my cousin or whatever? You're gonna be looking at her like, okay, you're just trying to take advantage. You know, you see an open wallet, so while it's open, you're trying to get as much as you can out of this transaction. At least that's the way that I would look at it. But that's actually the norm in Colombia, especially for a woman that's going out on a date with you for the first time. She's probably going to want to do it in a group setting to get comfortable with you. Then after that, it's all good. So that was definitely something that I noticed affected the dating culture. So you got to keep that in mind. Don't come with the American mentality. Understand, hey, you in Colombia, this is normal here. You know what I mean?
So did you have to pay for her friends too, or is it just?
Yeah, I paid. Dude, I mean, you know, it's nothing. I think we went to like I think I've done this maybe twice, and I don't remember spending more than 50 or 60 bucks for all three of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you kind of look like the man. You at the table, and you're the only one with all of these chicks showing up. You know what I mean? So
I've done it. They tried to get me for $350. I wasn't going for it though, because I didn't know that ahead of time. I had to have some guaranteed waiting on me for that. It happened in Paraguay. They tried to get me with that one. So what about Brazil? What is something that's socially just a normal thing in Brazil?
Kissing on the first date is super, super normal. Women being affectionate. Dude, it don't even have to be a first date. You could literally eyeball a chick across the room at the club, and 5 minutes later, y'all are making out in front of everybody. And to me, that was like the weirdest shit ever when I first got here. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. When I first noticed that happened, a chick tried to kiss me just immediately like that. I told her, I was like, you know, like, that's kind of fast. I was like, I want to kiss you, but like we just started talking like 2 minutes ago. And they were telling me like, oh, like in Brazil, like we don't look at it like that. It just happens on the spot. You could, hey, how are you doing? You know, I saw you. I thought you were beautiful. Yeah, let's exchange numbers. What are you doing later on? All right, I'll see you then. Then you kiss. That could be a whole 45-second conversation. She wants you to tongue kiss her.
Man, that the other thing too is Like, it is not abnormal here to meet a woman and go on a date the exact same day.
Very
Whereas,
normal.
yeah, like in the States, you know what I mean? You get a chick's number, you gotta text her up, you gotta follow all of these stupid rules. I can't double text. I have to wait for her to respond back so I don't look thirsty. It's all of these little games that you gotta play where I feel like the culture here is a lot more forward. There's no games, it's all real.
And one thing that I didn't like about the American chicks is, dudes and women would make excuses for them, and they would say like, "Oh, like maybe they're busy. That motherfucker, they ain't doing shit. They are not busy. They are just purposely ignoring you. They ain't. They once they leave work, their life is over with." But you can meet a chick. South America has spoiled me in this way. If I can't get a date on the first day that we meet, I'm not. I'm not I'm like she doesn't like me like that.
Right.
You know that I've came, but I'm in Sao Paulo. It's not like that. In Rio, it's like that. But in Sao Paulo, I'm not kind of seeing it the same way. Uh, I'm going on dates, but I'm having to talk to them for a couple of days, as opposed to Rio. Like you said, you meet them on the street. Okay, it's 2 PM. Let's meet at 6 o'clock. They'll be there. More than likely, they'll be there. But it's got me spoiled. That's another reason why I couldn't adapt when I was in the States, because like the whole game. No, I'm not into that. Like, listen, I just got back from Brazil and everywhere else. Let's meet later on. I don't have time. Don't ask me all these stupid questions. So, what about traditional gender roles? And like, what are the gender roles you would say that you notice in Colombia that you didn't see in the States?
You just said it, traditional gender roles, where that feels like it feels like a dying concept. You know what I mean? In the States, to be able to take on a woman and say, "Hey, I have enough money to hold down this whole household. You don't have to work." I hear many women say, even if they were in that situation, they would still want to work because they don't want to depend on a man. They don't want to, they want to make their own money. Yeah, it's just, you don't see those things here. Women are okay with saying, "You know what? I'm just going to hold down the house. You go be the man, bring the money home, and I'll take care of everything else." And I appreciate that. Honestly, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? I was looking for a woman to be a homemaker. I'm not looking for a partner. I don't need your fucking money. I don't need a business partner. You know what I'm saying? I need a real woman. So
Agreed. Agreed. And that's just something that in the States, that's not really a thing. I'm going to get back to that in a second. So, Lil Ant saying $5 for, can the tourists buy any bud THC not in the CBD in the bud shops in Uruguay? Yes, but don't take my word for it. You won't have an issue buying it, but I don't know if it's legal for me to tell you that. So I'm not telling you to do it, but you can buy it.
I could speak on that because I was just in Uruguay. Basically, it's legal there. Matter of fact, Uruguay is a very interesting country politically. It is the most liberal place in the world. Like, we talk about liberals and Democrats or whatever in the States. They are not in Uruguay liberals on paper or liberals by association. They are liberal in real life, and you see it in practice, such as things like being the first country to fully legalize marijuana. But as a tourist, no, you can't buy it. You have to have a Uruguayan ID to be able to walk into the shop and buy it. Now, if you could get your hands on something, you're walking around the street smoking, nobody's going to stop you, right? Because it's legal. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I went to one of those THC shops in Uruguay, and I didn't buy any weed, but I bought some of the mate infused with THC or whatever. That was some of the best. That was some of the best mate I've ever had in my life, and they're all good to me. But that one was just off the chain.
yeah.
So Rodney Woods sent $10 on the super chat. Thank you very much. And Brandon Hayes, the next one, with $5. But quick question: does Rico have any perspectives on colorism in South America and how it relates to how the women feel about foreign men?
Yeah, man. So like, that's a question that I kind of touched on earlier in terms of why I feel like Brazil is a better place for Black men as opposed to other places. And it's not to say that you can't have success in any country, because you absolutely can. But in terms of expanding your options and having the most available women that are into you to choose from, that does come into play, and colorism does matter because they are very colorist in South America. You don't, for example, in Brazil, even in Colombia, you don't see a lot of Black people on the news. You don't see a lot of Black people in politics, which was why it was such a big deal for the current Colombian president to have not only a female vice president, but a Black female vice president. Those are things that you really just don't see often. So there's this, I've even noticed with some of the women that they kind of have like this white savior mentality. No offense to anybody who is of Caucasian descent. I'm just being honest. They look at it as, you know, we are not used to seeing Black men with money. We're not used to seeing Black men with wealth. The only ones they see like that are typically either the white, the European descendants of their own country, or European tourists, white tourists. So in their mind, for the best chance for them at a better life is to like breed out, date outside of their race. You know what I mean? So yeah, like even in Colombia, you're going to have a segment of women that's just like, no, I don't date Black guys. I've literally seen that before.
Yeah, I was talking to a local, what was that, maybe Friday or Thursday, and he lived in the United States, and he told me that, can you hear that background noise?
No.
Okay, good. He told me that when he lived in the States, he noticed that the Blacks there were very pro, but he's been all over the world, and he said that the Blacks were very pro-Black. And when you think about it, the only slave colonies around the world, I think we are the ones that actually embrace Blackness the most. Like you go to, and he was saying when you come back to Brazil or Colombia or somewhere in Latin America, people, it's almost like some people don't even want to be in public with you. You know, it's like the chicks will smash you, but being, and this is generally speaking, not all the time, but they'll smash you, but bringing you home to mom, that's not always going to be the easiest thing, you know, in Latin America, I noticed. So yeah, colorism is definitely a huge thing, but I don't, on a day-to-day basis, you won't be getting discriminated like somebody walking up and calling you a nigga to your face. Like that won't happen, but it's just little passive-aggressive slight stuff that I think that you'll see from what I've noticed. So what about traditional roles in Brazil? Like, was it the same thing as Colombia?
Oh yeah, definitely the same thing. I mean, right now I have, you know, a woman, you know, on the path to getting married. It's just a matter of paperwork for me, FBI background check, yada yada yada. But she is almost 8 months pregnant, so we're expecting July 28th, right around the corner. She doesn't work, you know what I mean? I pay all of the bills, I hold it down. She has ideas like, oh, I could, you know, sell clothes or open up a clothing store or do this. And those are little ideas that I'll invest in to give her some kind of a purpose outside of the house. Because I don't think any woman or anybody just wants to sit at home all day, you know, just watching kids cleaning and cooking. So you have to be mindful of that. But she's completely okay with her role and her position as being like the traditional homemaker. You know what I mean?
I would agree. No, I don't think many women want to just sit at home. They have to have something to do. But I guess maybe back in the day that was okay. So let's talk about something that most dudes are hip to now, which is dating apps. How would you say, did you use dating apps anywhere in between Brazil and Colombia?
Yeah, I definitely used it in Colombia, bro. I had mad success out there on like Tinder and Bumble.
What about, so you think the success was better in Colombia than Brazil?
Well, I never really used dating apps in Brazil, to be honest. I came here, the women that I dealt with on a casual basis were more like cold approaches or people that I met through friends. Like my girl, I met her at a restaurant and just cold approached. You know what I mean? So here we are 2 years later after I met her with a baby on the way. But the dating apps definitely go crazy. You know what I'm saying? And if you're looking for something more serious, I recommend Bumble. Like the same way they do in the States, it's like the girls who are more into looking for a relationship are on that app. And if you're looking for something a little bit more casual, you know what I'm saying? Tinder might be your go-to there. So
I think if you're in Rio or let's say Salvador, like you can use dating apps, but there's so many women walking around that are just super friendly to talk to. You don't really need a date. Like all you need to do is go outside.
right.
You know, that's
Just
that's
go
the
to the
beauty.
beach. Just go to the beach and walk around. It really
Just
don't
go
matter.
to the beach is the spot. The
Yeah.
beach is, if you live in a well, I wouldn't say that about all places in Brazil that have beaches, because when I went to Recife, it was dead on a Friday. versus Salvador, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's 300-400 people at the beach, at one beach out of 3 or 4 every single day.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but Salvador and Rio beach culture is it's on point over there. So, we already asked the next one. Have you ever done like an interracial relationship in Brazil?
No, not in Brazil. In Colombia, I did. There was a chick that I was dating, the white Colombian chick. Yeah, I'm gonna leave those memories and try to lock those back in. She was nice, man. She was definitely a good girl, but I had already made up in my mind that I was moving to Rio, so that's why that didn't work out.
So, would you say that it was it perceived well by the public there in Colombia?
Oh yeah, nobody cared.
Yeah, nobody cared. I don't think so either. Yeah. Okay, so are there any noticeable preferences or trends amongst Brazilian women? You already said that do you believe that Brazilian women in general prefer white men?
Some of them. But like for example, my girl, she's never dated a white man and never will. She's like, I like black men and that's it. You know what I mean? And I meet a lot of Brazilian women like that, but I also meet some that are like, yo, I exclusively date white guys. But I feel like in Brazil, those women are the minority. The ones who say they only date white guys, they're definitely the minority.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think a Brazilian woman preferences? Not talking about race, but like, let's say physical attraction. Like, what do they like?
It depends on which part of Brazil, because Brazil is such a big country, right? Like the South versus the North versus like the section near the Amazon and Manaus and West, where it's bordering the other countries on the West side. They all have different cultures, they have different slang, different food, and it's the same way in Colombia. Like the costeños talk completely different from the paisas, have different foods. So I think a lot of those aspects of the culture are regional. So it's kind of hard to nail it down to have this one monolithic view of what all women want. But I would say from what I've noticed here in Rio, like because of the beach culture, because of the workout culture here, they don't want you to be sloppy. Don't think you about to come off the plane 300 pounds and yo, I'm gonna kill it because my passport is blue. Don't work like that. So I think they definitely want you to just not be sloppy. They don't necessarily want you to be like the pretty boy. You don't gotta be like Chris Brown, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta maintain your appearance and look presentable. I've even had a woman, for example, in Colombia tell me, she was like, oh, my man don't need to be pretty. I'm pretty for the both of us. I was like, damn.
Wow.
Never heard that before. You know what I mean? So that threw me for a loop. So I think they want you to be relatively attractive, relatively in shape. Um, they do like height everywhere, but your height won't disqualify you. You know what I mean? I'm 6'7", so my experience with that is going to be different from everybody else's for sure. But I do notice that women tend to gravitate towards the taller guys, and you don't have to be rich, but you have to have enough money to be able to just take her out on dates. And she's not asking for 5-star restaurants, bro. You could take her to the bodega and go get you a $5 meal, and she cool. So I think that the dating standards in Brazil are a lot more relaxed than in the States, where you got to be 6'7", fuck like a champ, and drive a Maserati and make 200K.
Got to be a god.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, got to be a god. So somebody asked a question and they said, well, let me ask you this too before we do this. Do you think tattoos help in Brazil?
I see a lot of women with tattoos. So the women like tattoos too. I don't think that's something that'll disqualify you for sure.
So you think they like edge? Do they like the edge? Yeah. They like that edge, but it doesn't have to be like I'm part of this organized crime edge. They just like that he got some personality to him, or he's got a little edge.
Well, that's what helps you out. If you come to Brazil and you're a black man and you're dealing with women that typically like black men, they tend to gravitate towards us more because of that edge. They're like, oh shit, look at the way he dressed, his swag, like the American hip hop music that they like. I'm not telling you to come down here and be a pookie, but I'm saying just be yourself. And if you have a little bit of edge to you, women gravitate towards that. So
Agreed. So Urban City Hiking asks, Rico, I know you're new to Brazil for a year, but in your opinion, what is the best city to buy a home?
man, that's tough because now I've been to quite a few cities in Brazil, mostly down here near Rio. So I've been to Sao Paulo. I've been, of course, I live in Rio, Cabo Frio, Ohio de Cabo, Gramado, Porto Alegre, Chuy, which is right on the border between Brazil and Uruguay. To be honest with you, I would say if it's about saving money, anywhere outside of Rio. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere. Rio's like relatively expensive, but I know the cheat code because I've been living here and I live in a neighborhood, which I won't disclose on this live because I'm not trying to blow it up, but it's by the beach. It's super cheap. My first apartment here in Rio, I was paying $400 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment, and I was a 3 to 5 minute walk from the beach. You know what I mean? I see land for sale in this same area that I live in where you could get you a decent sized plot of land for like $10,000, $20,000. I haven't seen a plot of land for sale for more than 30 grand. I know the guy who helped me find my first apartment is a real estate agent, and his dad owns a construction company. I'm in talks with him right now about, putting some stuff in motion to try to like buy some land and build a home here. And he was telling me, yo, you could build you like a decent 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with all concrete construction for like 20, 30 grand. I see condos for sale out here, beachfront, for like 100 grand. You know what I mean? So the best city is going to depend on your budget, like how much are you willing to spend and what's your vibe, right? Because not everybody likes Rio. Some people like Florianopolis. Some people like the south of Brazil better. I know a lot of people that like the north of Brazil better. So I would advise you to just come take a trip, try out different cities and see which one, you gravitate towards. But in terms of prices, you can't go wrong. It's going to be way cheaper than the States anywhere you go.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I don't know what neighborhood you're in, but in Copacabana, if you want a beachfront, like I can throw a rock in the sand. If there's just one little street separating us, that's going to start at like $1,500 a month. You say, right?
Yep, that's
which
accurate.
is cheap because that's almost what I was paying in Dallas, and I was just in the city, no beach nearby. But it's expensive for being abroad. It's expensive for being abroad. But yeah. So my next question for you is, what is the communication style like in Brazil? Would you say that they have a very romantic way of communicating with you in a relationship? Let's compare it to the States. Let's compare the romanticism in Brazil compared to the United States.
Yeah, man. It's on 10 out here. If you're dating a woman, she's gonna text you. She's gonna call you or more. You know what I mean? She's gonna ask you, hey, have you eaten today? Like, what have you eaten? Like, dude, I'm in a whole nother country and you texted me like, have I eaten today? Because they really give a damn. You know what I mean? So I think that's the culture, like what the hallmark of femininity. This is a quote from Rico, yo. The hallmark of femininity is vulnerability. So a woman who doesn't have the ability to rest in her vulnerability can't be feminine. And I feel like these women here are super, super feminine, bro. They don't mind being vulnerable and open with you, showing affection, displaying their feelings. They're not going to come with this hard exterior and this shell until you get your hammer and nail and open up this hard case in order to get the real me. They present that up front.
Yeah, that's very that logic that they got in the States, like, oh, because I love to make this comparison. They say, well, we have to be around the right man to be feminine. So let me flip your logic. I'll be feminine until I get around a right woman, then I'll start behaving like a man.
Right.
See, that sounds fucking crazy. That sounds crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna just be a bitch until you prove otherwise. Like, who says? You know what I mean?
Whenever we're both behaving like bitches, then I'll start getting more solid. That's what'll happen. I'll switch it. I'll turn into a man when I feel like it. Cod God's Big Washington sent $5 for. I have $2,000 in the bank, and I feel like I don't have enough for a visit. You have enough for a visit and a risky visit. You can get you don't have enough for a visit. because a round trip ticket for me from Texas was $1,500. So $500, you can get maybe 2 nights at a Airbnb, and then you can penny pinch. So I would say you when I travel, if I was traveling without a savings account, I would have at least enough money to get back home, which is usually around $1,500, no matter where you're at in the world, one way. $1,500, and then you need the entire trip to Brazil would cost you like 3,000. So I would have at least 5,000 to my name, because you're gonna spend 1,500 on a plane ticket. If you stay a week, you might spend $400 on the Airbnb. So that's already almost $2,000. Luckily, it's cheap, so you could probably survive off of $500 a week there. So yeah, you at least have $5,000 first. So
Dude,
no, you don't have to go visit.
That's the problem though, because when you see how cheap everything is, you come down here like, oh, the bottle is only $80 tonight at the club.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that should have get you, because you just like swiping, oh, this is so cheap. This is so, and then by the end of the trip, you're like, damn, how much did I spend? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah.
This is why I feel sorry for y'all boys from Texas, man, because in Florida, that's like the gateway to everywhere in South America. I want to say a round trip flight from Miami might be between 800 to 1,000.
A round trip, because I remember a one-way buying the ticket the day before was $600 from Rio to Miami. So yeah, it wouldn't have been that way from Texas, last minute trip, which means if I would have bought it in advance, it probably would have only been like $300.
Yep.
So what about in Colombia? Would you say, how were the women very romantic in Colombia?
Yes and no. And I know I'm gonna get heat for this, especially from people who are big proponents of Colombia, but I feel like the women in Brazil are authentic, right? So if they're saying they are calling you amor, they're feeding you off of their plate, showing you affection, kissing you, rubbing your head in public, whatever, they mean that shit because they really dig you. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a part of the culture in Colombia, so they do that to everybody. You know, like a woman doing that to you doesn't necessarily make it special. And a lot of the times it's an act. And if you're not aware of the culture, especially you brothers who've never had attention from women to be able to tell whether a chick is truly into you or not, you'll get fooled because you're like, oh my God, she called me amor. She took her fork and spoon fed me in front of everybody. It's like, nah, bro, they literally do that to everybody. You know what I mean? So it's still a better deal than what you would get on a date in the States. You know what I mean? I would rather you pretend that you like me than just act like you don't while I'm paying. But at the same time, it's like, I I like that about Brazil a lot more, that the women are a lot more real. I feel like in Colombia, a chick will kind of play the long game and see what she can get out the deal. She might not like you that much, but she'll stick around if you got some money.
Oh yeah. Well, some people would argue, well, like, all women want something, they're gonna do that anywhere you go. What would you say about that?
That's partially true, but I think that the barrier to entry is just a lot less, and women are a lot more realistic, right? Like if I were to take, and I've done this before, you know, I take a chick on a trip and I fly her out like, yo, we in Santa Marta or whatever, like, yo, let's go fly out to Medellin for the weekend and go party. And if I tell her, hey, this is we staying in a hostel, fucking Airbnb, bump a 5-star, we staying in a hostel. She's happy with just getting a free trip. She don't care. I didn't do that. I mean, we stayed in a nice Airbnb, but I know the mentality of the women. They're not having like these unrealistic expectations of you in scenarios like that.
Okay, I would agree. So have you encountered any cultural misunderstandings dating in Brazil, in Colombia? Like something that would be normal and okay in the States that didn't really fly, or they had an issue with it in those other countries?
I would say sometimes the way that you speak can be, especially as Americans, we could be a lot more direct. And sometimes that may come across as a little bit rude. So the way that you phrase things and the way that you say it matters a little bit. but I don't think I've had a lot of misunderstandings culturally, outside of language barriers. I don't think I've had too many issues with that.
Okay. And you're saying that for Brazil and Colombia?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's good. I've had, I guess, the cultural misunderstandings off the top of the head. I can't really think of too many besides a chick that thinks that I'm trying to control her by paying for a damn plane ticket. So, how do Brazilians? What is a Brazilian's attitude towards commitment and casual dating differ from the States? Like, how do they view commitment compared to the States, and how do they view just casual hookups, I guess, or just dating slowly compared to the States?
I think it depends on the girl. If you have like the party girl who's out every weekend, she's probably going to be the type that's a lot more open to the casual situation. You know what I mean? But if you have a girl who's not like that, she's not the party girl, they probably want something a lot more serious. And those are typically the ones that you want to build a life with, that you want to settle down with, be serious with. And I feel like those are the ones, they make you work a little bit more. It's still not a lot of work compared to the bullshit we deal with in America, right? But it's not exactly like easy mode either. You got to talk to them, prove that you're a man of value, prove that you will treat them well, and then you can kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So all the chicks aren't just quick hookups in Brazil and stuff like that. It's just more common, and it's completely different from the States. But yeah, I could agree with this. So, how important is the family approval? Like, you've met your girl's family, right?
Yeah.
How was that process? Was it just smooth, or did they have an issue being a foreigner? Or I'm assuming not, because I've seen your stories.
Yeah, not at all, man. I think that most of them are open with it. They probably kind of like they big it up. They like, oh shit, my daughter's got a gringo. You know what I mean, girl? You better not fuck this up. Like, yo, I've dealt with women who their mother is like, will check them. Like, you better not mess this up. You know what I'm saying? So,
And they still fucked it up.
yeah, they did.
What country would you say you heard that the most at? Brazil or Colombia, where their parents would be like, "Oh, you better not fuck this up"?
Just because I haven't had as many dating experiences in Brazil, I'm gonna say Colombia based on my experience.
Okay, so I would assume both then.
Yeah.
Are the women like eager for you to meet their family? Like, I know in the States, most of the chicks really weren't eager for me to meet the family.
Man, it is not uncommon for you to meet the family after like the second or third date. Matter of fact, some of the dates might be them inviting you to a family function. You know what I mean?
I've had that happen in Salvador.
Bro, and the way that I've noticed and kind of like peaked the situation in terms of how the families interact, you know what I mean? You could tell that the women get training. It's not kind of like how women go to charm school, or at least they used to back in the day. In the States, it's like they get charm school at home. If you get up and try to go grab a beer from the cooler, or you get up and try to go make your plate, that mom is going to check shorty like, yo, what are you doing? Why is he making his plate right now? Why is he grabbing a beer? You know what I mean? So in a lot of instances, I kind of like being around the family because you can tell what you're getting yourself into by how the mother treats you as well.
Yeah, when I had a chick from Rio that I was dating, and she moved to Jersey, and she invited me to her mom. Actually, not her mom, her aunt. I believe it was her aunt she was living with. Let me have the car because her niece was with me. She let me have the car for the whole weekend.
Word.
She let me have a car for the whole weekend while we were in Jersey, and then she when I went to their family function, it was like a bunch of Brazilians in that city in Jersey, and she made her fix the plate and make my drinks for me. Her aunt made her niece do that, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that was in the States. Even though they came to the States, she was new there. I'm pretty sure she still do that because she doesn't even seem like she's been assimilating to the American culture that much at all. So How do Brazilians feel about public displays of affection? Which we know how they feel about that.
Oh yeah, man. That is on 10. They love it. You know what I'm saying? They don't mind kissing you in public. You know, it is very rare to be able to walk around and your woman not hold your hand. Yo, I remember first time I met my girl, we were literally on the way to the Samba Drome to go and watch the parade for Carnival. And I'm fitted up. I got my, you know, my Carnival fit on, looking fly. And this is before I knew a lick of Portuguese. 'Cause, you know, that's when I met her. I didn't know no Portuguese. And she wrote something in the translator and showed it to me. And she was like, "Give me your hand. All of these women are staring at you." I was like, damn. You know, it wasn't even just about the public display of affection in that manner. It was about the fact she was willing to compete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we've definitely lost that competition in the States. They're not going to compete for you at all. Pretty much there. You have to make a fool out of yourself to compete in the States. There it seems like. So do you think that public display of affection and how open they are to just showing everybody that they want you to be theirs makes you closer in dating? Do you think it affects how that entire relationship goes as opposed to somewhere else?
yeah, big time, man. Because instead of you know what? When I left the States, to be honest, it wasn't even about dating. It was about money. When I found out that if you live outside of the States for 330 days in the calendar year, then the first 120 grand you make is tax free. I had made a lot of money that year because I was working 2 full-time jobs. And I was like, yo, Uncle Sam kicked my ass. So I found out about that loophole. I packed up my shit and I left. It wasn't until I was boots on the ground that I kind of found out about um, the women and the dating culture and all of that good stuff. But as opposed to my experiences in the States before leaving, if you saw a 6'7" man in his early 30s, no kids, no baggage, no ex-wife that he's paying alimony to, none of that, right? In shape, great career, six-figure earner. That guy you would assume would be cream of the crop. But I felt like every woman that I was dating was trying to make me prove myself to them as if my resume didn't speak for me. You know what I'm saying?
They ain't got shit. And they ain't got shit.
Exactly. Like, yo, I'm making six figures and you a fucking school. You a school teacher. And it's not to knock teachers. We need them. I love teachers, right? But I'm just saying, like, in terms of like the salary difference, like, shorty, you need to be proving yourself to me. You got it all fucked up. So I feel like when you're dating in Brazil, you know what I'm saying? The women are going to show you, like, yo, I want you. I'm here for you. I'm going to compete for you. And you don't feel like, oh, damn, this is how it's always supposed to be versus like what we see in the States, which is in reverse, where you as the man, no matter how high value you are, feel like you're always behind the 8 ball having to prove yourself to a woman. And so I think a lot of the public display of affection kind of helps reinforce, you know what I'm saying? The idea that, like, nah, like I'm not in America. This woman really digs me and this ain't a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I would agree. I 100% agree with everything you said. I couldn't be over there in the States again. So, how does the nightlife in Rio influence the dating scene?
How does the nightlife influence the dating? I would say that it makes the women a lot more approachable and open because they're used to being in social environments. They are used to being in settings where they have to interact with other people that they don't know. So they don't have this attitude of, oh, let's all go click up and buy a VIP section, dance with each other, and ignore every man in here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know you done dealt with that shit, bro. You know what I mean? So I think that the fact that the nightlife here is so popping, they have so many opportunities to be able to interact with people that they just are more open as a result.
Yeah, I've noticed that about the States a long time ago. I would always ask chicks like, so why didn't you and your friends just like drink at home? Y'all could have just drank it. Y'all could have listened to music and danced in front of the TV. You know, you
Right.
didn't have to be a bitch at the club to everybody. You know, this is a social setting. So that's one thing I've enjoyed about Brazil is that social settings are actually social settings. They're there. People are there to socialize with each other. Uh, so how important is it to you said you met your girl through you met her at a restaurant, but you've met women through social circles like mutual friends. Is that essential? Like how important is that in Brazil?
Oh, it's very important all over South America. I think that when you're, let's say, dealing with some chick and y'all are just friends, or maybe you just you know a local guy and he invites some women out. You know what I mean? The fact that people mess with you enough to invite you out speaks to your character because they're not going to bring people around that's going, mess up the vibe, be on some pooky behavior, or just like not kind of know how to conduct themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you are able to get into those circles and just show that, yo, I'm a good human being and I'm a decent guy, people will gravitate towards that. And as a result, the women are a lot more open to you when they see you in their own circles that they're used to dealing with.
Okay, so let me ask you this too. This is kind of something that a lot of people like to criticize or bring sometimes is what about economic disparities, like the gap between a local Brazilian woman you may be dating versus an expat? Most of us, if we're earning the basic salary of like 50 grand, we're considered rich in these other countries. How does that affect the dynamics in the relationship? Like, does it make you feel like the women are leeches, or I'm not saying it, or I'm just saying what somebody might be thinking?
Nah, man. Well, so it just depends because, like I said, for example, by contrast, in Colombia, I felt like a lot of the women, if they knew you had money and you aren't the type of guy who is wise enough or has enough experience with dating and women to realize when a woman is truly into you, you could kind of get suckered out of that money. Whereas here, I've noticed in Brazil, women are a lot more headstrong and independent, but not like the American woman independence, right? I mean, like just in a sense, they are like, I'm not going to wait around on a man to take care of me. I'll go get a job, I'll work and do what I have to do. But if one so happens to come into my life that is capable, I'm not going to. I'm not going. Yeah, I'm not going to shoot him down, or I'm not going, make him play all of these games and prove himself to me. It's not that kind of situation.
So it's pretty much a natural situation.
For sure.
Yeah. So what are some common expectations, let's say financial or even just let's say romantically that let's say in between Colombia and Brazil, what are some common expectations you noticed compared to the states that were different? Like kind of like we just touched on with the financial things. You kind of touched on it throughout the whole stream, but um, I guess paying for the first date, that's like you're not coming to South America and doing 50-50. I've only done that maybe once. And it wasn't 50-50. She paid. That was and usually if they go 50-50 with you, they're
Like,
definitely not with you.
yeah, you just a friend. We splitting this
Yeah.
bill. You're the amigo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I would say that the expectations are the expectations everywhere in the world, to be honest with y'all boys, is the same as it is in the States. They're expecting a man who is well grown. They're expecting a man who knows how to carry himself. They're expecting a man who can provide, right? But provision in these South American countries doesn't require as much money as America, right? So you could definitely win on that end. But I would say that, like I said, I think it's the same. I think the barrier to entry is just a lot lower. But what I would say from my experiences in Brazil, and I'll give you a real story. One time I got into it with my girl. This was early in us dating, right? We got in this argument about some stupid shit. I can't even remember what it was. You know what this girl told me? Mind you, I'm paying all her bills. She don't have a job. She's living with me, handling everything. She said, if you ever raise your voice at me again, I'm leaving. She meant that shit. I haven't done it since. You know what I'm saying? You know how you is. You just heat of the moment argument type shit. But that right there showed me, like, as much as people in the States want to say that these women here are doormats, you can just walk over them because you're an American with money. I don't find that to be the case at all. I think Brazilian women, especially the Black Brazilian women, have a lot of pride, and they're not on some like, I'm just going to take anything and accept anything that you give me just because you have money.
Wow. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had a few altercations, not many, but I've had a few like that with women in Latin America. Dre sent $10 for how did you learn Portuguese and how long did it take? Great show, Austin. Thank you for the super chat. I learned through Duolingo, but I didn't master it. And I'm not a master, but I didn't get it down until I moved down here. Basically, somebody gave me a bag of vocabulary words in Brazil, and I knew all the words, but I had to learn how to put them together efficiently. What about you?
For me, learning Portuguese was really an extension of me learning Spanish. So I do Spanish really, really well. I still do, of course, right? Like I was living in Colombia. I think it was a lot better and a lot more fluent while I was like living there. I haven't lived in a Spanish speaking country in over a year now, but a lot of the words are the same. Like literally the word in Spanish is palabras or palabra. Palabra, right? But in Portuguese, it's palavra with a V instead of a B. And even if you don't know Portuguese, if you know Spanish really well and you come and visit Brazil, some of the words are so similar, you'll just understand what it means without having ever seen the language. The conjugations for verbs are damn near identical. So like for me, it was an easy transition because I knew Spanish. So I was able to pick it up. I haven't, like when I was in Colombia, I took a Spanish class for a couple months just to get my visa. I had already been learning on my own anyway. But that definitely accelerated things. Like, for example, being able to learn how to speak in the past tense versus everything being present tense when you just like kind of learn in Spanish or whatever. But yeah, that translated really well when I got here and I was able to just pick it up. So after being here, I don't even use Duolingo no more, dude. And like my Portuguese is dope. I have whole conversations with people. I handle business, security guards up front, call up here. Hey, you got a delivery or whatever. I understand exactly what they're saying. I'm able to communicate back. But I will say Duolingo is an excellent resource because that's what I was using to help learn Spanish before, I got into a class for it.
Agreed. So Uncle Luke's 1980 sent $10. But hey, fellow expats, quick question: do you think passport bros, expats, or blue book gentlemen are concerned about Western women not caring or knowing about men dating and living overseas? I don't think so.
Nah, not at all.
That whole wave when I first got on YouTube and there was that wave of dudes going back and forth, that shit is over with. Like anybody that's still going, any passport bros that's still like, trying to prove the point to them, like they on their own with that now. Because I'm definitely not. I mean, if you ask me about it, I might complain for a few minutes, but I really don't give a damn anymore. I've been going for 2 years now, so it's a figment of my imagination. And I told you,
once you solve the problem, it's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm at a point in my life now where I look, if that's who you are, that's who you are. I just don't have to fuck with you. You're masculine. You got a brick wall around your heart. You can't open up emotionally. You're feminine until you're masculine until you're feminine. That's fine. Just stay the hell away from me. So, how do safety concerns impact the dating? How do safety concerns impact dating in Rio? Yes, for you as a foreigner.
Not at all.
Not like Medellin.
Shit, I didn't even think it impacted it in Medellin. I think y'all niggas is just some suckers and don't know how to move. I'm gonna be real. Y'all getting drugged and got because it's a lot of dudes. Once again, like y'all don't know how to differentiate between women who are playing the long game to get what they can get out of you versus a woman who's actually into you. So it's like, bro, your level. All right. If you were in the States and you weren't pulling no bad joints, why do you think this dime piece in Colombia just like wants you for no reason? Like, come on, bro. Your level. Like, be honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think the safety concerns affected at all. As a matter of fact, some of my best experiences was when girls invited me to parties out in the favelas or out in the barrios in Colombia, and I'm around locals, local block parties. Nobody there is a gringo. Nobody speaks English. Those were some of my best experiences.
So we have a question from one of my moderators. He said, "What about the Asian guy that got deleted in Medellin? Was he a sucker?" It's
Yes.
not that he. It's not that he was. Well, Rico says yes, but again, like he said, it's like he was saying earlier. It's not. You guys don't know how to move, and when I saw the picture of the girl, I was kind of like, kind of like even just looking at her, she didn't look like the trustworthy Colombian chick, if you ask me. So it just goes back to being aware of what you're dealing with, being able to read signs, So long term versus short term. Is long term very common in Rio, or is it short term that's more common?
I think long term is more common because Rio is a bubble, right? Like you come to Rio, women are a lot more open, laissez-faire because of the culture here, the beach culture, the party culture. Once the moment you get outside of Rio, that shit changes completely.
Yep.
And women are a whole lot more on some like, yo, we need to talk for a few days before we go on the first date. Let me feel you out. They're a lot more serious about their dating prospects.
Yeah, if Rio is definitely a place to for like what it is for, it's the tourism spot for dudes that want to come down there and just kick it for the weekend or kick it for a week. But a place like Salvador, like I've had plenty of chicks. Like the first date always went, how I wanted it, I guess you could say, but it wasn't always same day. It was very often like that, but not always. I ran into more chicks that did want to talk for a couple of days, like you just said. Versus Rio, yeah, that was they're exposed to foreigners.
Right.
So, what was your worst experience online dating in Colombia?
Oh man. Yo, so I meet this one chick, right? And I think I met her on Bumble. So I'm thinking, she's a little bit more serious, right? So um, I'm talking to her for a few days and then I invite her out on a date. And it was one of them situations where she asked me, oh, is it okay if I bring my cousin or whatever? It's our first time meeting. I'm like, cool, right? This was like, I set the date up for like the weekend and it must have been like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. In between the time of her accepting this date, she starts sending me all of these naked pictures and videos and shit like that. And I'm like, yo, what is up with this? Like, yo, this ain't. Now I'm new to Colombia. I'm new to all of this. So I'm just kind of trying to figure things out. Shorty was a pro, and I had no idea. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't like the vibe of the date because when we went on a date, everything was cool. I paid for her, paid for her cousin that she invited. But then afterwards, she was like, "Oh, I need some medicine from the pharmacy. You think you could help me out?" It was just like this real awkward. I just wasn't feeling it at all. So I'll tell you what I did, which is like this is no cap in my rap. Dreadlocks is hard to find people to do your hair in Colombia sometimes. So I asked the girls, I'm like, hey, yo, y'all know anybody that know how to retwist locks? And she was like, oh, my cousin can. I'm like, word, okay, bet. Put your number on my phone. So I got her cousin's number. Her cousin eventually ended up coming to the crib to do the hair. And, one thing led to another, and that was that. So,
Did you still get your hair done?
yeah, she did my hair afterwards.
Oh wow.
Yeah, bro.
Damn.
She was like, "Oh, what's up? I thought you was talking to my cousin." I said, "Nah, I don't like her like that." She was like, "Yeah, she is a little crazy," and that was that.
For some reason, I feel I've heard this story before. Uh, so, have you encouraged any stereotypes about you being an American abroad and between Brazil and Colombia?
Not at all. Actually, I think that I'm the type of guy that tries to do everything I can to not project that American attitude. And I don't think everybody's of that mindset because a lot of people come here with a superiority complex. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
in dollars. I'm richer than you. Fuck you. You know, you are, you know, they treat people like they're supposed to be their waiters everywhere they go instead of treating them like real people. And that could be very off-putting to the local population, whereas you see a lot of people in Medellin right now saying, yo, we don't want the gringos here. You know what I mean? Like they kind of want y'all gone for, you know, a lot of the shit that y'all do, coming in the club, throwing money, you know what I'm saying? Putting the tricking on public display, which, like, if that's what you do, no judgment, do you. But why display it publicly? Why make it this thing where, you know, I got to publicize it. I got to get on YouTube and like record all of the girls and talk about it. All of those things are fucking up the culture to the point where, you know, we are our own worst enemy, because white guys been traveling for years before this whole passport bro movement started. And they never had those issues and still don't. It's only us. So the clout chasing has got to stop. The oversharing has got to stop. Niggas is acting like the cats that got invited to the bachelor party and come back and talk too much about it. That's basically, you know what I'm saying, what the vibes is. So.
Agreed. And I'm doing these interviews. I'm looking to get out of that. Well, I'm already out of that. I'm to a point where now, the only way you'll see women in my videos if I'm walking down the street not asking for directions. But the whole, I said this yesterday, but I interview women. You're like, oh, so how do you feel about feminism? And these women are this more feminine. Look, if you want to know how the woman is more feminine, just like the restaurant girl video I had on Twitter that went viral, I was just asking her, you know, to speak to the camera. She was asking me what my name was. That was enough. I don't need to interview her. I don't need to compare her to American women, even though I used to do that stuff. The more I started doing it, I'm like, look at the people that's in my chat. These motherfuckers, you know, not all of them, but you got some dudes that are just straight perverts, and like that's all they care about. Right. And it's like, well, for me, that's not the thing, right? Because I'm looking at, which I am, I'm living abroad. So it's not all just about the women. Like, I do want to see, you know, can I walk down the street and not get my phone snatched? Like, I want to know those kind of things. You know, I want to know how much it costs to be there. So there are other things to share. And I think content creators like that will be a lot more welcome than the dudes that are just in Pattaya and the DR that are just showing you guys a bunch of prostitutes. Yeah, I can see that. So, what about Carnival and dating? Well, I guess it's not necessarily dating. Can you tell me what happens during Carnival between men and women in that time frame? What you've experienced,
bro? Like, I didn't go to any of like the block parties. The blockos is what they call them. I didn't get a chance to experience any of that in Rio, but I did get a chance to go to like the parade or whatever. I was in Porto Alegre, however, this past Carnival season, and I attended down there. And so I got to go to a couple of the block parties, the street parades and stuff like that. And dude, it's like everybody's getting loose. You know what I'm saying? Like, in some regards, that shit's like the Freaknik. You know what I'm saying? It Carnival could be wild, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it can be. I've heard a lot of things. I won't say it, but you know, people do stuff publicly in the street, and there's thousands and thousands of people on what's that street? Atlantic Avenue, or
yeah.
That's I've seen photos. I've never actually been doing a real carnival. I went in 2022, but it was during COVID, so it wasn't the real carnival. So let's see. What do you think Brazilian women think of, like, when they think of America? If they're dating an American man, what do you think that experience would be like for them? Like, what do you think they think about us?
I think they love it because basically, you know, for example, the thing that I pointed out earlier about how, you know, if you're at a family function and the mom sees the girl getting up to make you a plate, or like not getting up to make you a plate, like you're fixing your own plate, getting your own drink, they're going to check her about it. Hold on, my bad. What was the question one more time? Make sure I'm phrasing this correctly.
So how do they perceive us in dating? Like, do they think like, oh, like I don't want to date an American because they might be too demanding or they might be too cold? Like, what is their perception of us?
That's right. So the perception is that we are a better option than the local men. And it's not even about money, to be honest with you. I'm talking about an everyday living situation. For example, we here, you know, at my crib, if I see the dishes need to be washed and I got some free time, I'll jump in and do it. Sometimes I'm not adverse to doing those things because, we do that in America. You know what I'm saying? You're going to keep your own house clean. You're going to wash dishes. A lot of the times, like a lot of brothers like myself cook very well. I remember my mom was like, hey, you can't depend on these little young girls to cook for you. You better learn, stuff like that. So if you get into a relationship with these women who are used to this macho attitude from the local dudes, like your place is the kitchen. I'm never getting in there and cooking shit. I wish I would pick up a broom or a mop, And then you come as an American who's actually willing to do those things from time to time, bro. They looking at you like you the second coming of Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can see that we're a breath of fresh air to them and vice versa. Because I guess we come from a culture where the women are macho. So they treat us like we're the women and vice versa. Chase Holiday sent $5 for peace, my brothers. What's the average rent in nice areas and what's the best city in Brazil? Somebody just asked that. Also, Austin, does Brazil feel better than Peru? Yeah, I like Brazil more than Peru because there's more options. I think in Peru, you really just got Lima, man. I think those cities outside of that aren't going to really cater to what a foreigner would want. But I'll let you answer that question about the average rent again.
Give me 1 second, Austin. I gotta take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Okay, that's no problem. We'll take a bathroom break real quick, you guys. Hit the like button. We'll be back in just a second.
Yo.
All right. So
all right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, to answer Chase's question, the rent, you're saying the average rent in the nice areas. I would say, for example, Barra de Tijuca here in Rio is probably one of the most sought out after areas because you know how it works in any major city. They do all of their development in the central part of the city, and then over the years, as time goes by, they kind of build that out. Then they need more space to build more shit, and then they move outward. So now most of the development is happening west of the central part of Rio. Because at first it was like Copacabana, Ipanema, then Leblon was the new money area. Then after Leblon came Barra de Tijuca. Now it's the area where I live. And I'll just tell y'all, it's called Recreio. It's literally right next to Barra de Tijuca. And I know you fools ain't coming out here anyway, because, it's not the tourist spot. But what I will say is, like, if you have $1,000 a month in like the upper class neighborhoods, you could get a really, really nice spot in like Barra de Tijuca for about $1,000 a month.
I can see that. I can see that in most of, actually $1,000 a month in most of South America. Even a place like Chile, where it's super expensive, will get you a nice spot. I think even Uruguay, if you sign a lease, not on Airbnb, a lease, because
they don't.
Airbnb in Montevideo is not cheap. If you stay on the good side, where you want to be at, where everything is at, you talking about like I think I seen like $1,800 a month for Airbnb in Montevideo.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
I don't like Montevideo like that to be paying that much. I mean, like this spot that I'm living in here, it's a 3-bedroom. I had a 2-bedroom, but we have a kid on the way. Needed a little bit more space, so we upgraded and got this 3-bedroom here. And it's a whole lot more than I want to pay, to be honest with you, but it's extremely nice. So at about $1,500 a month, and I'll just go ahead and maybe show you guys a little bit here if I can. Oh man, you know what? It's not even using the right camera, so I can't. But this condo that I'm staying in is like 24-hour security. It's got like Salauja Festas, which is like the party or an event space. We have two of those. We have a gym on site. We have two swimming pools. We have two swimming pools behind the two swimming pools that are just like for playing volleyball in the water, tennis court, basketball courts. We have a supermarket on site. We have Salauja Beleza, which is like the place where ladies go and get the hair and nails done and all of that. All of that's on site. 24-hour security, $1,500 a month. You're not getting all of that for $1,500 in the States.
Yeah, not nowhere. Now maybe in the backwoods of Mississippi, but nobody wants to be there.
Right.
So we know United States was kind of affected by social media with dating. A lot of people like to blame the dating culture in the United States on social media, but my argument always is they got social media in Kenya, they got it in Brazil, and the experience is completely different. So, what do you think? Do you think that social media has affected the dating market or influenced different behaviors in Brazil and Colombia?
A little bit. I would say more so in Colombia than Brazil, because Brazil is a lot further. There's a bigger barrier to entry to come and play down here, right? Because it's a much longer flight. It's more expensive. So if you don't have the ability to spend significant time, which most people who have regular jobs have to depend on PTO to do, and you only have so much PTO a year, Brazil probably ain't the spot. But Colombia is a lot easier to do a quick in and out weekend warrior type of vibe. And I feel like what happens is because the women there are so overexposed to gringos. You know what I'm saying? And I've dealt with that. You know what I mean? Like with women that I dated, I'm not going to name them, in Colombia. The problem is they got so many of you thirsty ass niggas, especially the ones who speak English. They got so many of you thirsty dudes in their inbox and in their DMs. They feel like they got endless options. And then when they have a man that's serious about them or really likes them, they feel like, oh, well, let me just stick on this hypergamy train and maybe see if something better comes along, or they're going to treat you like you're expendable because they think they have options, which we all know is a farce, because just because somebody's in your DMs does not mean that they love you. It does not mean that they're willing to hold you down and take care of you. They probably just want to smash. But women never see it that way, and their perception becomes their reality in that sense of like what those DMs actually mean. So in that regards, I think a lot of the super top tier women, social media has affected it because they feel like they have a lot more options.
Okay. So I'm gonna read a couple of these super chats, and then I got one more question for you. Is downtown Rio still dangerous and safe to live? Is it safe to live there now?
Yeah, for sure.
Still dangerous?
No, it's not dangerous at all. I don't think that. I mean, honestly, you're not really running into a lot of danger outside of the favelas. And I mean, the most that's going to happen to you down here is somebody will try to snatch your chain, somebody will try to snatch your phone out of your hand. It's like petty crimes, theft, crimes of opportunity. But somebody like trying to take your life and really trying to fuck you up in that manner, that's not happening like that often. And to be honest, like if you're a gringo and you have American money, why the hell would you even want to be in those types of places? You know what I mean? For those types of things to occur. So
I would agree. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Opportunistic crime. That's in most of these Latin American countries. Being a foreigner, it's going to be more opportunistic as opposed to you getting murdered or kidnapped. Like they have to plan those things on you. Usually, it's like, oh, his chain is in a way where I could snatch it easier. His watch, whatever. So Nubian Knight said, "Can Rico talk about his dating experience in the Afro-Latinos in Cali versus Salvador Bahia?" I don't think you've been to Salvador, have you?
I have not, but the woman that I am with here in Brazil, and I mean my Instagram is in the description there under my name. You can go to it and check it out. But my lady's posted all over there. It's no secret. She's Afro-Brazilian. You know what I mean? I don't have anything against other races or women. I just prefer Black women. That's just my thing. And I will say that the differences between the Afro-Latinos in Colombia versus Brazil is just the sense of Black pride here. It's completely different, in my opinion. These women are so pro-Black. They are so proud of their skin color. They're proud of their heritage. And I love that shit. I love it. You know what I mean?
Compared to Colombia.
Oh, yeah.
So would you say, because one thing I love to say is I had a video that a lot of people to this day, I don't know how I do it, man. Some of these comments I see on a daily basis, but I was talking about if you're looking to date an Afro-Latina, if you see them, there's not a lot in these areas I'm about to name, but if you do see them in Montevideo, Buenos Aires, Lima, Peru, Medellin, if you see them in, or let's say Florianopolis, if you do see them there, you have less of a chance of actually dating them than if you were in Salvador Bahia or Cali, because it's like they're trying to breed out in those, like they feel like they don't, like I said earlier, like they don't want to be associated with you in public.
Right.
Because I've had some chicks when I was in where was I at? I believe I was in Lima, and it was on a live video. And I was talking to these 3 Black, they were clearly Black, like they clearly had some African heritage. And I'm just speaking like, hey, how y'all doing? They were just looking at me like I would shit. Like, you know, like, what are you doing talking to me? I turn around and there's a mestiza. I start speaking to her and she's giving me the time of day. We exchanged info and all that. Literally,
let me guess, after she did that, then they wanted to be more open.
They seemed like they were like, oh, like, okay, but it was still just the assumption that they had about me in the beginning. It's like that's something that they're taught. Versus in Salvador, you walk down the street in Salvador or Rio or Cali, Colombia, and chicks are looking at you that are also Black. But in Montevideo, places like that, that really won't be the case. You know, they're gonna kind of push away from you. So my last question for you is, what advice would you give to single men who are new to Brazil first, and then I'll let you describe to Colombia? What advice would you give a single man who's new to Brazil that wants to come date?
I would say that you don't objectify the women first and foremost. And what I mean by that is, if you come down here with this whole, dang, the women just so bad, I just want to smash a Brazilian, I just want to smash a Colombian. I think women can sense that desperation in your energy, and they're going to treat you accordingly. You know what I mean? But if, for example, if you were serious about dating a woman in the United States, what would your motion be? You know what I mean? More than likely, your motion is, let me make a connection with her. You know what I mean? What do we have in common? What are some things that we can talk about in common? Oh, she likes this sport. You know, that's something we could talk about. Or she likes, you know, just something that y'all have in common to make some common ground. And the best way to do that here in South America is music. You know what I mean? Get into salsa, get into reggaeton, get into Brazilian funk, get into samba. You know what I mean? Get into Brazilian trap. That's huge down here. I love Brazilian trap. Vitrini, you know,
really?
Oh, what? Dude, the rap music down here, chefing. Dude, I got a whole playlist.
Is Poozy the Hoodoo one of them?
Yes.
Okay, I've heard it there, yeah.
Oh, God, what's his name? I'm looking. MC Caballino. Pretty sure I heard of him. MC Caballino. I was at his concert. Hey, get into that stuff, because then it's like you could be on the beach as a gringo speaking the English, and you got your speaker out and you blasted some local music that the girls like. They looking at you like, yo, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? And then it comes across like you actually enjoy the culture and you're not trying to objectify the women. That's number one. Number two is don't take shortcuts, right? And what I mean by that is thinking that if I'm having trouble, I'm not going to say dating, but if I'm having trouble attracting women in the United States, right? Because we know the dating culture is fucked up. But as a man, if you are attractive, or women find you attractive, or if you still look like an attractive option, they'll at least give you choosing signals. Even if you follow through with it, get a number, things don't go the way you want them to go, her mindset ain't what you want it to be, you're still going to be able to attract women if you do the work on yourself, which is, yo, I work out, I have real hobbies. I don't just sit around the house playing video games all day and jacking off. I have, a depth of conversation that we can speak about. I'm knowledgeable on world politics, on different things like that. Be a Renaissance man. Women love that shit everywhere around the globe, and most importantly, learn the fucking language. I am so sick of seeing y'all niggas at tables trying to date with a goddamn phone in your hand doing all of this texting, bro. Think about this. If you had a woman that came from Africa, she came from Asia, she came from any country in the world to the United States, and you take her on a date and she don't know no fucking English, and all night she just texting, you're gonna be like, yo, this shit.
I'd be like, let's smash, and then like I'll just call you back when I want to smash, and we'll learn. Whenever you learn English, we'll go on a real date.
Right. Or even the fact that sometimes when you want to have a deeper conversation about something and convey feelings or convey, your perspective on something, knowing the language is actually going to help you get that across in an effective manner. Because sometimes translators, no pun intended, on a translator, things could get lost in translation. Especially because people, for example, the way that I'm speaking here is probably the same way I speak in a corporate board meeting at this current moment. Anyway, and what I'm saying is like the proper English, the proper dictation, the proper, grammar, those types of not using slang. People do that. They try to speak the way they would speak to another American and type it in a translator, and things get lost in translation because they don't have the same slang. They don't have the same phrases. So those are the things, man. Don't take shortcuts. You know what I'm saying? Don't objectify the women and learn the language. And if you can do those things, you'll have success for sure.
Wow, that was good. That was a really good answer to that last question. So what do you think about the men that expect the women to learn English?
Don't. Are you going to pay for their English classes? Like, just don't. Learn the language.
Yeah. Plus you're in that country. So you're not only speaking to her. Even if she knows English, what you're gonna have your wife just say everything for you, now you can't even take on a true masculine. You can't even give her the true masculine experience, because when you go to the restaurant, she gotta get okay. We want a table for this many. She gotta do all the talking. So
and you standing behind her while she's in front, organizing everything, looking like the bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel you.
Yeah. So Will the Thrill says, does Rico do consultations?
I do, especially about brothers who want to work abroad, but maybe it's not allowed by their job, and they need to hide their location using VPNs and things of this nature. I've been doing this successfully for a while. I left the States officially December 23rd of 2021. I will never forget that day. You know what I'm saying? And I've been successfully hiding my location ever since. So my Instagram is there. I probably should have came prepared with my Calendly and all of that good stuff. But if you do want a consultation, just like regarding living in Colombia or Brazil, or doing the VPN thing to hide your location, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll definitely respond. Because I got a lot of game for you brothers, man. It's not even just about like the dating. I know that's been the focus of this conversation, but in terms of, for example, somebody asked a question about real estate, and I could tell you prices of land. I could tell you the average price of like what you should expect to pay for a condo. I could tell you whether you're getting gringo taxed on whatever your transaction is or not. What areas to stay in. Like if you're serious about making money, what are good areas to invest in? Things of that nature. I got all of that knowledge. I've been going out of the States for a while. So, I'm really about this life. Get at me on Instagram and I'll get you right.
So his Instagram is Tyshawn Jones. It's right there at the bottom of the screen underneath his name, Rico, right there. If you guys want to get on him. Do you have 20 minutes left or no?
Yeah, man, I got time.
Okay, if you guys want to call in and ask some questions live, I've been dropping the StreamYard chat. Nobody's calling. You guys know you guys need to call in so I could chop these call-ins up into different videos for you guys. So you guys can get some concentrated information for people that don't want to watch an hour and a half stream. You guys can get some short 8 to 12, 15-minute videos. So if you guys want to call in and ask Rico a question, drop in on the link right there. Just put, if you guys are enjoying the show, send a super chat for your questions as well. If you are not fully dressed and you can't call in, or you're in a situation where you can't call in at all, send a super chat. We'll ask the guests a question today. But I'm gonna give you guys 5 more minutes. And other than that, we will have to let the guests go. So is it cold out there in Rio right now?
Nah, it's not cold, but it is wintertime, so it is the coldest time of the year. Like, honestly, it's getting like maybe 65 degrees at night, at the worst, and during the day you're still getting 70-degree weather. So it's beautiful weather. It reminds me of Medellin at this time of year.
Yeah. Over here in Sao Paulo, it's been raining every day for the past 5 days, and at nighttime you would need a jacket, maybe. But during the day, you could still walk around in shorts. So it's kind of at that hot during the day, cold at night. Nobody's gonna call in. Is anybody gonna call in? Otherwise, we'll let our guest go. But he did give a lot of information, so maybe he already answered your questions. Official Kobe said Rico has a baddie. Congrats. Thank you for the super chat.
Appreciate that, brother.
So what are your future plans living in Brazil?
Honestly, man, I want to get a real estate portfolio here. That is my biggest goal. I also have some other goals to open up some businesses here in the restaurant space. Not going to give away the idea because I feel like it's gold, but being able to build the networks that I've built, I've been able to make connections with people who actually have money to invest, things of that nature. But a lot of it I'm just going to do on my own. Like I said, because property is so cheap here, it's really easy to acquire. The only problem is you really got to have cash because they're not going to finance you as an American. So it's going to be a cash transaction. But the amount of money that you can get in return, just like on Airbnb in the short-term rental market, is phenomenal. So for me, that's a big part of my retirement plan, is acquiring a lot of these properties and cash flowing them.
Agreed. So we have one caller with Mr. James Humbert here. Let me go ahead and bring him up. What's going on?
What's going on, Austin?
How you doing?
Doing good, man. I like when you mentioned that list, man. You should probably pass that list along of words and phrases that helped you learn how to guide your journey to learning the language. I think that'll help a lot.
Oh, you talking about Duolingo?
Yeah. Well, I use Duolingo too, but I've been using them with Spanish. But I've been on and off. My job has been calling on me pretty good. So I definitely want to get on learning Portuguese because I'm realizing through y'all, this is helping a lot too. That Brazil seems like a really good look. For a while, I was just looking at the crime and what happened to you and the racism and everything. So that's my question, And I know that you guys talked about it. You touched on it, talking about okay, there's crime here and there's racism here, but if you move a certain way, you can get around it. But isn't that everywhere?
I would say so. What do you think, Rico?
That what was the question again? I'm sorry, James.
There's a lot of crime and there's a lot of racism in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I know how to move in a certain ways in the United States where I almost never have to deal with it. The most racism I deal with it is at work when I'm dealing with the others in quiches, which has been worse for me.
Agreed. Yeah, I would think that is very similar here. Like the colorism and racism definitely exists, and that's everywhere around the world. There's not a country that you can go outside of the African continent where you're not going to find racism, to be honest. But I feel like it's not really going to affect you in your day-to-day, especially as you mentioned, because most of the time you're not going to be working here. You're going to have a job from the US or make your money elsewhere. And for me, I know a lot of people would say interactions with cops and things like that in the United States. But for me, I agree with you 100%. The biggest issues that I've had with racism have been in the workplace and in corporate America. So.
Yeah. So, the other thing is, it seems like what you guys are saying, if you stay in the right spaces and don't venture out too far, you won't have to worry about it. See, right there, that's the stuff that makes me not want to go to the country, because the countries I've been to, like out here in Germany, they say they come out Germany as Nazi everywhere. I'm like, I'm treated very, very well out here in Germany. And the Turkish women out here are absolutely gorgeous, and they love us. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for a reason to leave, a reason to stay at the same time. But everything I've heard about Brazil on a positive side is way better than Germany. Mm-hmm. Even though you guys keep hearing about Germany, we'd have to do a live on that, Austin, because
we can do that. We can do
that. Yeah, we definitely should do it. Because the lives I did with everybody, there was so much more I needed to offer, because there's a lot of things that need to be said about this country. I don't want to get too into it, though. We'll just leave it for a live. There's a lot, Austin. Plenty for a show. But the question I'm asking is, I don't want to be able, because the thing about you haven't explored all of Brazil. So the chance to be going into one of them spaces that you shouldn't be going to are extremely high. Like if you went out to Alabama, we know that there's places you can go to and a white woman will love you out there. And just down the street, you know, they might be sitting there waiting for you, hoping that you're going to be still out there when the sun goes down, if you know what I mean. That's the problem. You need to keep talking to locals. You better talk to locals if you go to Alabama. Do people even know that you got to talk? You got to move in certain ways, the same way you guys say you got to move in Colombia and Alabama. These things are true. As a result of that, I'm just going to tell you, I ain't going to Alabama, even though I know there's just some Swedish looking women out there that actually love brothers out there. Yeah, y'all, it's like that in Alabama, just so you know. But yeah, but they still American, so don't. And LSU boys will tell you about that, just so you know. But I want to know that, like, if I go out there with because I like all races of women, the whole rainbow. It doesn't matter to me. If I end up with a white Brazilian girl, if I walk into the wrong spaces in the neighborhood that you said we should go to, am I gonna have problems?
Nah, because you were a Brazilian woman. That's like I wouldn't go to the favelas by myself, but if I'm with a local chick and she's like, yo, let's go to this favela party, I'm going with no hesitation. I probably won't wear this chain, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going with no hesitation, because maybe I just don't have that kind of fear after living in Colombia and Brazil, two of the most, I don't know, dangerous places on earth, man. I feel completely comfortable. So, you know, it's not uncommon to see me walking down the street by myself at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in either of those countries. I've done it multiple times. I've never really felt unsafe. I think is the parallel to America, right? Where if there's an area that's sketchy, you'll be able to tell just from eyesight, right? Like, damn, this shit look kind of poor, it look kind of janky, you know, maybe that might not be the place to be walking around at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. But if you're in Medellin, you could do that in Provenza and Poblado all day. No different from if you were in Chicago. I'm sure there's like the south side of Chicago. You know what I mean?
The whole Chicago.
Yeah, that's what you know what I mean?
I'm just keeping it 100. Yeah. To Chicago, don't go. You might look like a knot. That's the problem. You just might look like a knot. You know, but I didn't mean to hijack that, but Chicago is just, stay out of Chicago. But no, I like what you said, but I can't, maybe if I were to phrase it another way, what is the best city? All right, you said colorism is real out there, right? Obviously, I'm a certain hue, right? Me and Austin could be brothers, but on paper, we're not, because of in the eyes of a colorist, right? What neighborhood would be best for someone just based on the way I look? Or does it not matter? If it does matter, what would it be?
It don't matter. Just don't go to.
Okay, cool.
But essentially, in Rio, like just don't go to the favelas. And every town has their own favelas. Some of them, like I saw favelas in Cabo Frio, and I was walking through them to get a haircut. Phone all out, hey y'all, you know what I mean? So like, I would never do that here in Rio. Like it really just depends on the city, you know, because everywhere that's low income doesn't mean it's dangerous.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If it is low income, you should probably take some precautions.
Right. So I'm used to high end places, man. You know, every city I moved to, I made sure my money was right, and I lived in a really, really nice neighborhoods. I was living in $2,100 a month when I was out in Seattle. And, Russell Wilson stayed in the next building across, was a more higher end building in downtown Seattle. So, I like it like that. And from what I understand, you guys said that when you were saying $1,000 to get you that, was you talking about the bare minimum of the really nice places, or like literally the nice places where you got security, when you can walk to the grocery store and you feel like everyone is just nice and chill? You got the white Brazilians and the black Brazilians, and everybody is just all good. It's all peachy.
So I live in a $1,500 a month condo right now. You know what I'm saying? I walk out that front gate, go to the grocery store, and come back with food for the family and shit like that. And I never feel unsafe, no matter what time of night it is, right? But I did the same thing when I was in a $400 a month apartment in the same neighborhood. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know how to solve or say anything to you that's going to absolve your fears of the place. What I would say is just come, book a ticket, see how it is, take the advice from the brothers who've been before that tell you, hey, stay in this area your first time and check this part out, see how you like it. It's super easy to book an Airbnb and check to see if the Airbnb has 24-hour security and things of that nature. But to be honest, man, I don't think you got nothing to worry about. The crime and all of that stuff is just overhyped, in my opinion.
It usually is. I mean, I've gone through hoods that I wasn't known for, but the problem with me is, and it's just true, I don't like to hear, but I look like a cop. I was told this. What was you saying? I look like a cop. And I've been told by enough people to be like, all right, it is what it is. I won't go there. But, because of my military, I mean, I was raised military. I went in when I was 17 years old. So it is what it is. A lot of brothers are like that are my age, that literally, what I'm talking about. It's in us. But, it seems like to me that there's problems if you want it. Or I always say there's problems if you ain't paying attention. Is that accurate? Or is that a little too much?
I think that's a little too much. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm glad you responded. You thought about that, because people don't realize it. If you read between the lines of what I asked, if it is a lot, if you're not paying attention, that's too much.
See what I'm saying? My girl just brought me a fresh.
I saw that. Yeah.
Caipirinha, man. You got to come down and get you a caipirinha, bro.
Right.
Worth a plane ticket.
Now, as far as the nightlife, you've been to Vegas, right?
I have.
You've been to Vegas during the holiday in the summertime?
I have never been to Vegas.
Okay. What city in the United States can you compare the nightlife to? A place in the United States where the nightlife was really good, and how it compares to the nightlife in Brazil?
Miami and Atlanta, but I think it's way better in Brazil because it's a lot less dangerous. I was just reading about 1145 Lounge, I believe is the name of it, in Atlanta, which I believe I've been there once when I visited. And I think a couple of people got shot and killed in the establishment on Mother's Day, literally on Mother's Day. It's sad. I just read that, Chicago had 41 shootings, 17 people killed just for Memorial Day weekend. That is not common, happens every year in Chicago. I have never been out partying in Brazil or Colombia, not once, and ever felt unsafe. Not a single time. I mean, my buddy is in the chat right now. I see him. Rich was good. Another Rich Adventure. Like, he's been with me. We've been in the club together in Brazil, out there in Copacabana, walking around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, cell phones. He got a chain on. Nobody's bothering us, It's just, and maybe I see people saying it in the chat. Maybe I do live in a bubble because I'm 6'7", so the average person is not going to look at me and say, you know what, let's go try him today and see if we can win this battle. So,
man, you're 6'7"?
Yeah.
You're not normal.
Yeah, I'm not.
You get looked at. Don't come to Germany. You ain't gonna be married no more.
I've heard, bro.
Dark skin, 6'7". I'll get looked over. Just give you a tidbit of how things work out in Germany. I can't compete with him in Germany. I need to spit game on a massive level, and he has to like stop paying attention to the girl for a couple minutes. That's just how your features out here are. It would be threefold than actually what you get in Brazil. Whatever you get in Brazil, I'm just keeping it real. Out here, looking like that, it's going to be higher because you're like literally Michael Jordan walking around here, prime Michael Jordan. It's too much. Even in Frankfurt, where it's the worst place to find a girl.
Wow.
Worst. But yeah, it's the worst out of all the cities. And I'm realizing that, even though I came up on some Turkish girl real nice, but all the dudes said, everyone I talk to, everyone I meet. Hold on, I want to make this about the Woods Club out here in Frankfurt. But I do like what you're saying. And the only other thing, the reason why I asked that about the nightlife is 50% of the reason why people want to go who are single and they want to mingle, the nightlife needs to be on that level. And they coming from the United States and they only know the American nightlife. Like when you go to Thailand, that's not the American nightlife. It's weird. I don't know what kind of nightlife they have. It's a strange version of the nightlife. And out here too, it's a little strange too, because the guys, you can have 40-year-old men acting like 18-year-old boys in the nightclubs out here in Germany. And everyone who comes to Germany, they know that's the truth. I think that's a little bit in Spain too, unless you go to Barcelona, where everybody is like trying to get on that proper. That's the other question I ask. And when you go to the good nightclubs out there and in the bars and places, how do the guys dress? And should you try to blend in that sense, or should you dress up dress up all the time, not even for the occasion, just for this is how we come?
Just look normal, presentable. I mean, you don't have to come to the club wearing Gucci and designer, but
not Gucci. Just like dress shirt tucked in.
No,
flats, shoes. Okay.
All of the dudes, man, they in there in jeans and t-shirts and fake Nikes that they got from Central and pulling all of the baddies. So,
and women are not expecting anything more.
No.
Okay. If you did more, how would you be seen?
More interesting. So I mean, like for example, I got like a diamond charm for my chain that says Rico. I got it custom made diamond charm. I don't wear it all the time, as you can see, but sometimes when I go out and I'm like, hey, we going to the club tonight, bump it. I'm about to throw this chain on real quick. You know what I mean? Just go out there and get in the environment and have fun. You get more stares. People are definitely, you're going to get more attention, really, is all it is. You're going to look at, hey, who is this guy over here with the sparkling bottles coming to his table with this diamond chain on? You know what I mean? So I don't think that, but I don't need that chain to get attention either. So I don't think you need to come out here and do the most. You could just be yourself.
Okay. What about on a date with one of the best ones out there? Like if you come up on a 10, and from what everyone's saying, if you brothers got it together, you know what I'm saying, and you checking all the boxes, your teeth is right, your skin is right, your money is right, your posture is right, you got just enough language to carry a conversation, everything is checked, you can come up on a 10. So if you do that, you go on a first date, how do they expect you to dress?
Normal. Nobody's expecting you to come out and dress to impress. They just want you to be presentable. I mean,
I hear about that.
Especially here in Rio, everybody's walking around in flip-flops. You know what I mean? It's different culture.
Lil Ant sent photos. So I went to Berlin in Germany and I didn't see that energy. I heard about it the whole 7 days of being there. What city in Germany is the best?
I don't get it. He said he went to Berlin because I can't see it. Something's wrong with my internet here, and it's blurred.
He went to Berlin and the German women. His comment is not.
Oh, he said he went to Berlin and the German women wasn't feeling him. Is that what he's saying?
Basically, that's
okay. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to tell people. That energy is falling off in Germany, and that's why I said I can't. Like I said, I can't compete with him. In the old version of Germany, I wouldn't have to compete with him, but he can still get a girl below me because his skin is darker and he's 6'7". It's hard to compete with that in a nightclub, even in Las Vegas. That's just a reality. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're a fat dude and you're shorter than me, you're gonna have a hard time competing with me. But in Germany, go ahead. I'm sorry.
everybody's experience is definitely going to be
Absolutely. It's a
different.
fact. Don't
Depending
ever.
on- yeah.
Yeah, don't ever go to a country, especially now with the internet, which is like loud. The internet is the loudest it's ever been in its creation. Guys, what I mean is a fad can go from a whack neighborhood in Brooklyn to Sweden, to the upscale nightclub in Sweden in a week or 5 days or 3 days. And it will be popping by the time you fly out there 5 years from there. That's just the way it is. As a result, this is what's going on in Germany, even though it's more so in Frankfurt than anywhere. The women have gotten it in their head, and the message went out that, and this is a lot of countries, that foreign men, especially American men, think they're easy. So they're going to make it extra hard for you to approach them. Thank God it hasn't hit in Brazil. And from what you guys are saying, that's not the case. Even though that's kind of what Austin went through. That's what they were hitting him with. And so you see how that happened to him, how that blew up like that. Well, it was like that in Germany a long time ago, 1,000-fold. And it just went bam. And slowly but surely, it started to rot away that little bit of magic that we had as foreigners. So that's the answer to your question. So unless you want these women out here, yes, it's a little extra. You can come up a lot well because they don't have it in their head that black men are monkeys and all that other stuff. That's not in their head, so you don't have to worry about that. You know what I'm saying? And when you don't have to worry about that, that's when things is going to be all about bringing it. Because if it's like that in a certain place, no matter what you do, you're going to get rejected.
Domain sent a cash app, a great interview with Rico. Thank you for the cash app. Yeah, so I put the call-in link if anybody else wants to call in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up the stream here in about 5 minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I think I'm good unless there's some stuff you guys want me to ask them while I'm here. If you're scared to come on, I mean, y'all want to do that, I don't care. Because the only thing I look at it like this is Brazil looks like a good look. And I don't see no flaws. I don't see the flaws that I thought about, and I'm slowly starting to see that. Because the two things I worry about is racism and crime. That's 60% of the reason why I left the United States. Racism and crime.
I think the racism in Brazil is more so of which racism definition is systematic. But I think in Brazil, it's like on a day-to-day basis, you won't have anybody being racist to you, but not for us. But as a Black Brazilian, the minute you want to excel in life, that's when they start to put roadblocks in front of you.
So you want to come from bottom to up?
Yeah. If you want to be like, if you look at how, like Rico was saying earlier, look at how many Black Brazilians are on TV in the government. That's the difference. But if you get in the Uber, and the Uber driver's white, he's not gonna be ignoring you because you're Black. Like, it won't be like that, or he won't deny you because you're Black. But if a Black Brazilian wants to run for office, good luck.
Yeah,
I'm just about to ask that.
I've never experienced racism ever in Brazil, but it is hard not to notice the fact that the Black people in Brazil tend to be on the bottom of the totem pole in terms of wealth.
Oh,
you know what I'm
okay.
saying? So with that being the case, I don't feel any racism, but it does feel like sometimes Brazilians feel like, oh, well, this is my place. You know, I'm a Black Brazilian. This is my place, and I have to stick to this and just accept it. I remember I had a guy deliver my crib, literally my baby's crib that I put together the other week. And he was doing the delivery. And this man asked me, was it okay to use the elevator? And I'm like, yeah. So he said something to my girl. I had walked back in the house. I didn't hear him. And she came back laughing. She was like, he just asked me if it was okay to use the elevator because he said that in some buildings in Rio, the Black people aren't allowed to. They have to walk.
Damn.
I said, what? You know what I mean? Like, so the shit happens. It definitely happens. But honestly, that's not your concern. You're a gringo with American dollars. Like, you're going to get treated like, you know what I mean? Like the ambassador from the U.S. just arrived for some kind of political event. You know what I mean?
So the Black American magic is still alive and well in Brazil.
Big time.
That's a good thing, because hear about dude in Berlin. I'm like, yeah. I kept to everyone, we'll do it. I'm gonna have a lot for you, Austin. But the only question I have too is, this is going to be one that's going to be real big, and it's definitely a problem in the United States. Can you bring a white Brazilian girlfriend to your Black Brazilian neighborhood with no problems?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I knew that was going to be the response, but you and I both know why I asked that. That's never been asked about Brazil. There's no need to ask about Colombia, because it doesn't make sense to ask it about Colombia. But yeah, that's dope, man. Because if you do that in the United States, you ain't coming out. But
GS, is it like it's like that in the United States when he's saying that with the racism? Here's the thing, a comparison I like to say though. How many Black Brazilian billionaires are there compared to the whites? I don't think there's white Brazilian billionaires. There's probably not as many Black American billionaires, but they're there to show you that the racism progress is different in the States versus here.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of information out of this one live that I've been trying to look for. I go in there and they will do a thing on Brazil, and I will ask these kind of questions. But it's hard to do it in type. You have to get the questions answered in dialogue. But yeah, you guys are really helping out a lot. And I got to say, if there's one thing I would say about going to Brazil that outside of the question that we all ask is a social structure, and you answered that. Like, do you feel like if you learn the language and you shave off a little bit of that extra American swagger, or that, that extra American vibe, could you just feel like you're part of the Brazilians? Do you feel like you're just in a mix of them? Like, you don't feel different. You don't feel like you're seen as different, even though you're still going to have that little bit of magic, that little bit of that extra. Just like when you go out to, like, if he goes to China, something like that. So that's just that's the last, even though you did answer that, but can you feel like you're just another Brazilian? That's good. To a certain extent, I guess.
Yeah, Will the throw ass, but it isn't like that at all in European-based countries. Blacks are labeled the lowest ethnic class.
No, not in all European countries. I don't want to get into that because it'll take over the stream. It'll literally stop. But yeah, I'm just going to say no. And I guess you can answer it because this is not about Europe. This is about Brazil.
Well, we could get into that if you want to.
Yeah, I don't mind. I have no problem with it. And I won't be long-winded about it. The answer is no. And here's what the thing is. You have to understand something about a lot of European places. And Brazil, in some instances, I'm getting it from a lot of the lives I see. If they're not raised to see us as monkeys, if they don't have a Fox News, if they don't have TV shows constantly with the little racists in your windows, they're constantly being indoctrinated all their little lives, all their white bread lives growing up to see us as monkeys. And then you have to understand, all her life, not even seen the Black dude, monkey, 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 monkey. And then one day, white guy is this, brighten up in just this glorified thing, like he's Superman and you the great ape. And then here you both are coming to ask her for her number. Or here you both are coming for the job. And it's loud like that. A lot of these places, Sweden, the Netherlands, Hungary, like Romania, and even some parts of Spain. Because even though they do it, a lot of women in Spain say they're not very good at it. All they do is embarrass themselves and make themselves look crazy, so they stop. That's what's going on in Spain. Spain gets their racism for Black people from the United States, just so y'all know. Like China. They learn how to be racist toward Black people from the United States. And for a whole host of reasons of why they do it in China. And it's,
do you live in Germany?
Did I live where?
Do you live in Germany currently or in Europe?
I'm in Germany right now, currently in Frankfurt.
Okay. I would say that the only reason that race is even a part of your mindset and thinking about it at all is the fact that you're in Europe. You're in you're in the land of the Caucasians. You come
Right.
down here to Brazil, even Colombia, where there's a whole lot more diversity, you wouldn't be thinking about this shit at all. You'd be going about.
Well, if you terms it for me, and that's fair to even question that, and in some instances that would be right. I'm unique, and you know, in my book that I'm writing about my life, I talk a lot about it. And one of the reasons why I talk a lot about race, because it has had an extremely overwhelming effect on my life from day I was born to right now. I experience more racism than everyone that I've ever had a conversation with. I talk to people all the time and I shake my hands like, how is it that I'm getting more racism than you and you're 6 shades darker than me? But that's another story. But in here in Frankfurt, where I'm at, I have experienced absolutely no racism whatsoever. People walk by me and smile and say good morning. I feel just no pressure at all being out here. It feels completely free, completely refreshing. Except the only thing that's the difference is what we said about Berlin is that whole thing, what they said about the German women and American men, especially black men, it's dropping dramatically. And I say in about 5 or 6 years, it'll be non-existent. It'll be just like going to Arizona.
I want to add something. So I went to Amsterdam last month, right? So I took the bus from like Amsterdam through Germany to like Prague, and I stayed in Berlin for a while. Let me tell you, when German people, I don't know if it's because I was black or whatnot, but the amount of time the man was talking to me to death. Like,
oh yeah, yes.
The Germans love to talk, man, especially the younger ones. They love to chat up people, and they're curious, and there's no kind of standoffishness. Like, they'll meet a random person on the train and just talk to you, right? Same thing when that was me going to Berlin. I went through Hanover through Berlin. So one story I want to make quick. I had recently got so when I got into Prague, right? It was late at night. It was like around midnight, and I had at the time I didn't have like the SIM card to change my phone. So like I was basically like kind of stuck in a way. So I did have enough money to get to get on the train and what have you, but I'm basically stuck. Long story short, like there were so many people there that were helpful. Like one time I asked somebody for directions, and it was like a group. It was like different guys. One guy was from Norway, one guy was from England, one guy was from Lebanon, one guy was from Jordan. It's like no one. If you ask a random group of, I mean, I'm not saying all, but if I live in New York, if you went up to like a group of, maybe not to say all the time, but if you went up to a random group of like younger dudes and you ask, hey, do you have the time, or can you tell me where to go so and so, they're gonna look at you weird. They're gonna be a little bit hesitant, right? Long story short, I had to wait until like it was around like 2:00 in the morning. I had to wait until 5 for my Airbnb host to wake up to get the keys from me. So I went and I stayed at a local gas station. When I went to the gas station, sorry about the background noise. I live in New York, but when I went to the gas station, it was like two younger kids. They were like no older than 21. I bought a couple things. Long story short, they were just talking me to death. They were just curious. They're like, oh, where are you from? Whoop-de-whoop. They kept offering me like tea and all that good stuff. It's like they were very hospitable and very ingratiating toward people that are traveling there. Like it was, and I literally only saw maybe like I've said this several times. I've only saw maybe like 8 to 10 black people there, and so it's like you see non-white people. I mean, you see white people all over the place, nonstop. It was honestly one of the safest experiences I've ever felt. Statistically, Prague is the 12th safest city in the world, and I felt extremely safe. Like no one was bothering me. I was taking pictures on my last day there. I'm gonna say this last thing. When I was there, I was taking pictures. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and there were white dudes jogging all around me. No one had any kind of animosity or kind of like apprehension towards me. It just like it was like I was just a typical local,
Right. I'm gonna do something real fast. I'm gonna show y'all right outside my window in this little, because my Airbnb is in a red light district, and right outside my door is this.
Are you in Berlin?
No, I'm in Frankfurt.
Okay.
No, that was that. I'm hoping that was as dope as I was assuming it would be for everybody. Outside my window is a lot of drugs and a lot of stuff like that. But this is not like in my Airbnb. It's like the world shuts off. Nobody bothers you. Even the worst, right in front of you selling drugs. You walk by, oh, I'm sorry, and they move out of your way. You know what I'm saying? Even they do it. But what is your name? Because I can't see. Because
That's real.
when I work out and I don't have my water inside of me, my eyes are blurry and my internet is bad. I can't see nothing.
Hey, Azrael, 1 second. Rico needs to go. So I appreciate you coming through today, man, and sharing the information. I'll rerun this tomorrow morning. If you want to shout out your Instagram really quick before you go, and then we'll continue this conversation.
Yeah, man. Instagram is Tyshawn Jones, TYSHUN Jones, all one word. Hey, if you need anything in terms of consultations, assistance, setting up a VPN on your router, different things of that nature, definitely reach out, and I got y'all. The cost ain't too much. So,
what's your cost?
Only 50.
All right.
Thanks,
all right, man. Appreciate it.
Good stream. I want to say this. What I really appreciate just traveling around the world, people are not apprehensive about just chatting you up randomly. They could tell you're American, but they'll randomly chat you up. You're like you find yourself like in Amsterdam. Let's say you riding bike somewhere, and you at a stop. This older white guy will just chat. Hey, where you from? When I ask you, oh, I've been to New York. Well, you know, and it's a conversation that is no awkwardness. Like in America, you can't do that. You can't just walk up to a person. Maybe in the South, in some parts of the South, like you can just like on your way going somewhere, you would say good morning, but you couldn't strike up a conversation naturally with somebody. For example, if you're in New York on the train, they would look at you like you might be mentally ill.
Actually, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. In New York, I've lived in 13 different states, and I've done it everywhere I go. If I'm at the bar and I got a beer and you sit next to me, I will strike up a conversation with you. If the atmosphere requires me to ask a question that would require you to be involved in it, I do it all the time. I wouldn't say social butterfly. That's for women. One of my best assets is communication. And so communicating with people and talking to people is just something that is just a natural thing for me. So I guess I'm a little abnormal, but Azan, me and you definitely going to have to do I would love for you to come on my on a live. I was supposed to go live today, but I had to redo my whole computer. I got hit with a virus. Do a live about Germany. We need to do a one-on-one. I would like to invite you to come on my live show that I'll probably do I would say around this time, 3 hours from now, on Thursday, and talk about Germany, because that's a deep conversation, and it'll be a blessing for you to come on that live too, Austin.
Okay.
I'll send you a message, and someone your caliber and how you would compare and contrast to the places you've been recently. And also it would be dope for you to come on, Austin, because just like I do all the time. Yeah, one of the reasons why someone in New York.
Hello.
I've lived in 13 different states, and I've done it everywhere I go. I'm at the bar, and I got a beer, you sit next to me, I will strike up. Oh yeah. Well, I was saying that one of the reasons why it's dope if you come on a live like that is because you've been recently traveling to a lot of places. Is you can compare and contrast to the old ways these neighborhoods used to be to the way they are right now. And compare and contrast how those changes have come about. And that's something that people need to learn, because too many people think these areas and these countries are the same that they were 10 or 15 years ago.
Facts.
Or 2 years ago. You got to stop doing that. You got to find out what's going on right now.
Yeah, everything's different from the pandemic. After the pandemic,
every country, everywhere, even Italy, one of the places I would never go, because I know I'm going to have to knock somebody out.
I never had an issue with Italy. Italy is cool. And
I heard that. You see, there you go. I've heard that.
I ain't
And
gonna lie. I knock on wood. I don't have. I would say, I hate to say this, but I'm kind of blessed that I haven't had any racist thing happen to me or people being mean and nasty to me. I've had more
what about
people.
the lights?
Like when I'm traveling, I have people approach me. Like recently I went to another state like last week, and I'm learning Japanese, right? And I know I was learning a little bit Korean, but so a group of like Korean people just walked up to me like, oh hey, they asked me what food would I recommend, and you know I was talking to them. Long story short, I asked them, oh, where they're from, and I thought they were Japanese, but they were Korean. But we started speaking in Japanese, and like they just opened up, right? And they were trying to teach me Korean. So like I've been lucky to say like with people, I give off the energy of welcoming energy. In my opinion, I think, you know, everybody's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do that with some people, but other people, I give off the energy that I'm gonna make them feel belittled if they strike up a conversation with me, like Obama does.
I will say this though.
I hate that.
I'm trying to move to Portugal because I want to retire there. I'm trying to get my citizenship there as well. It's in the process. But the Portuguese woman in Portugal, they're not the. It's a little low key night and day from Brazilians and people that live in Portugal. It's a little bit night and day. They're not the. I'll just say they're not the friendliest. They're.
Is that like comparing Colombia to Spain?
So real quick, I had a question for Rico, but he got off. If anyone knows in the they can put it in the comments. I'll stick around. Just what I had a question for him. What he would recommend as the best like software engineering boot camp for someone looking to get into like software engineering. That was my question. Thank you.
You may have to reach out to Rico on his Instagram for that one because you know I'm not into software engineering.
And I'm gonna shoot him a DM. I appreciate it though. I appreciate y'all.
I always emphasize this. Like I feel like you know Austin brought up you know the whole thing of becoming a passport bro. I feel like I'm extending it to beyond that. Like I met a Canadian dude when I was at the Amsterdam airport. Dude had already 3 passports. He already had a Canadian one, English, a UK one, and of course an American one. And he was coming back from Turkey to look at houses, right? So I'm at a point where you should be thinking about getting multiple passports. Like my parents are Jamaican, so it'll be easier for me to get a Jamaican passport. To get the Portuguese passport, all you got to do is speak fluent Portuguese, be able to, and you got to pass I think it's called the A2 test to show your proficiency in it, have $10,000, and then live in Portugal for at least 6 months at a time. You got Lisbon.
How long?
Oh, what do you mean for how?
6 months, because I know if you live there for 6 months and they're not going to give you a passport. How many years do you have to do that?
I gotta check. No, but I gotta double check on that. But that's the criteria: be able to live there for at least 6 months out of the year. I don't know how many years consecutively you have to do that, but like a lot of the Virgin Islands, like I think it's St. Lucia or somewhere other places. All you got to do is, and you can get your passport. You just gotta you can get a passport that you just gotta pay like $150K and then stay there at least 1 day out of the year. All different countries are different, but with Portugal, I know specifically it's called the D7 visa, and you got to stay there for 6 months at a time and have $10,000 investment. The reason why I say this is because you compare a house that's like for $400K in America to over there, you can get something for like a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom out looking to sea, right? I mean, there's some parts of Portugal, it looks like you could live like James Bond villain, no lie, off of some like remote island shit. It's fly out there. I recommend guys go there, especially in the summer. It's really nice.
I've been to Portugal when I was in the Navy, of course. So let me tell you, like Black American brothers out there, I was treated very, very well, but that was a while ago. I ain't been in the military for 16 years. And it's been about 20 years since about 25 years, maybe somewhere since I've been in Portugal. And obviously is nowhere near is it the same. Nowhere near.
See, sorry about the background noise again, but see, this is why I think it's crazy because I live in New York. Hold on, give me one.
I definitely want to get some German questions about the nightlife.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dennis Jean-Pierre said he didn't really like Portugal like that. He said he thought the people were
He
very
did. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I was very interested in what he was going to say. I listened very closely about that because I was at the time I had been to Portugal and I've never been to Brazil.
I'm thinking about because I'm like I said, I was learning Japanese. I am learning Japanese right now. I was thinking about it depends. I might be able to get into what's called the JET program, where they take people from American and they transfer them over to become English teachers. That's been an idea in my head. It's 1 out of 5 people get chosen for that. But I'll be in Shinjuku in August. So I'm at this point, like I was considering just leaving the States for like a year or two and then come right back, you know, instead
that
of just,
that A2 exam that you said you would have to pass that you guys were just talking about. If you were to study that exam, if you were to get a copy of it and study that exam, how well would that prepare you for speaking the language and being able to hold up conversations in Brazil?
I say this. I say learn from somebody. Get a tutor. For me personally, I would recommend. I have a tutor right now. She speaks Korean and Japanese. I would recommend getting a tutor. And what happened is it's easy. It's like taking an English test. Everybody can speak. We're speaking English right now, but a lot of people wouldn't know. If I tell you, okay, differentiate what a subject between a predicate is, or differentiate a verb from an adverb, the average person is not going to. Like, it's gonna take them a while to think, okay, what is an adverb from a verb, right? And somebody said arigato gozaimasu. Yes. See, Babin, yeah. It's still in some parts in the country. If it's the morning time, it's Ohayo gozaimasu. So yeah, I speak Japanese.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah. But it depends on how you learn, right? As long as you pass the test and you can speak conversational parts of the language, you should be good.
Yeah, conversationals is where you can actually start to be able to carry relations, and that's the number one part. But to be accustomed to be a part of the society, you're gonna have to start paying attention to when you're speaking to someone and hearing how a word that you never learned is used within that conversation, and you can pick it up like a piece of slang. When someone uses a piece of slang, you have no idea, you never heard it used like that before, but because of how it was used, you instantly exactly know what it is. That's how I'm trying to learn it.
Yeah.
You know?
So have you been to Munich already? You've been to the Oktoberfest? I was thinking about
I haven't been to the Oktoberfest, but I have been to Munich. I've been to Stuttgart. I'm in Frankfurt. And I was only in Berlin for like 5 days in the layover. And that's it.
Okay.
Hamburg and I barely was in Berlin. So the only thing I would ask is if you heard what I said about Frankfurt, right?
No, I came in kind of late. It's like a melting pot over there. It's like London, low key.
Well, it's what I mean, like everyone knows that obviously all of Germany has changed like everywhere else. But what's been happening, what is really extremely extreme out here in Frankfurt is that the women feel slighted because the word has gotten out. Social media has pushed it to the heads of the women a long time ago that foreign men think that they're easy. So now they make it extra hard for foreign men to get them. And out here in Frankfurt, women are making hard for all men to get them. Really hard.
I think
they're like extra. It's like being out in Arizona. That's what Frankfurt is.
I think
there's certain women. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry to cut you off. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's some women out here that are not jaded. And those are the ones I end up, coming up on. Like right now, I'm dating a Turkish woman. She is gorgeous.
Yeah, the Turkish German women are always the finest ones. The Persians, the ones that look like
good genes.
Yeah, I will say this though. I think, in my personal experience, the greatest way to break down the barriers is to be able to speak fluent in their language. So that tells them, okay, you've been practicing the language. You're not just over there just to smash and dash, right? It's like
in Germany.
No, I'm talking about in general.
Okay. That's definitely not. Oh, I'm saying, but go ahead. Yeah, that's definitely not true in Germany. They don't care about their language in Germany.
Oh well, yeah. From specifics, I want to say that somebody mentioned go to Cologne. To me, Cologne is just for tourists sightseeing. Like you can see that nice cathedral. It's beautiful. It's it's close up there with the Prague Castle. But I wouldn't personally live there, like to stay there for a while. I would say where you are, Frankfurt and Berlin.
Yes, yeah.
Hamburg is nice too as well, or Hamburg, I should say. But I mean, it is some places are getting different. Everything fluctuates. Like I think the more east you go in Europe, the better. If you go to Prague, if you go to Budapest, I'm thinking about going to Split, Croatia next year for my birthday. You know, I think the more east you go, the better, because they're going to retain those countries are more religiously inclined, so they're going to retain a lot of the culture of being religious and spiritual. That's why a lot of to me, the more east you go, the more safer it is.
Yeah, and there's people who said the more east you go in Germany, the more likely you are to run into racism. You see that? And I bet those people haven't been in Germany for a while. The thing about it is, in Germany, if you get caught being racist, you get locked up.
Exactly.
It's illegal to be racist, and they can easily adopt that in the United States. But the reason why they're not doing it is a whole new show. They can't just publicly do it, and at the same time, it's stupid to do it, because what would they benefit from being racist toward me? They're the boss. I mean, when it comes down, I mean, there's no benefit. There's nothing to gain from it, except if they literally, actually, deliberately hate you. But the reason why you don't see it a lot out here is because it's illegal, so you can't do what Fox News does. They can't do that. It's against the law to do it. So it's illegal to raise their kids to be racist. If your kid goes to school and racist toward a Turkish person, it's going to go back to the parents. And if they find out that there's some indoctrination, those parents are in some serious legal trouble out here in Germany. You can't do it. You can't do it. And to take that risk of, like, why would you want to do that to your kid?
Yeah.
What is there to gain? It's completely brainless.
I think. I think
As real. After you answer that, I got to end the stream.
No worries. I don't know if there was a question somebody asked, but I'll just say this. It was a good stream, Austin. I'm gonna listen again from the beginning, from the playback. I think with America needs racism, because that's how they make their money, to divide and conquer people. Because I was even telling somebody this: how can people that say, "Oh, women only want you for your green card to come over America," but it'd be the same niggas that want to bitch and complain about racism in America? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's not clicking to me. There are more people, there are more children in America that die from gun violence than cancer. The average 30-year-old can't afford a house. Your birth decline is in the toilet. You can't even afford schooling. Your infrastructure is shot to hell. Your president is basically a vegetable. You have open borders. The country don't even respect your tax dollars enough to use it to get you better health care and to close down the borders so that you could retain some kind of wealth. Like, America's only here to make money and leave. Like, my parents are non-American. They always told me they couldn't wait to go back home, because it was America's just to make money and bounce. It's not a thing of like, oh, I can't wait to. After the pandemic, and some people felt as though Trump rubbed them the wrong way, people see America totally different. That's why you have to travel to other countries. You'll see they don't really think highly of us like that, because, for one, we only know one language. I met this girl in Amsterdam. She spoke 4 languages. So, I mean,
hey, let me get to this last super chat, and got to end the stream, man. James, have you been on a military base there currently? Frankfurt is different than Grafenfurt and the other city, where there are more American military.
Stuttgart, of course, is more American, but when you're looking at white dudes, you're not going to know if they're American or German, because Germans have adapted to our style, the way they dress, the way they move, and they don't really copy black dudes. They copy the white guys that are a little more hip hop. The white guys that hang out with us, they copy them because obviously they can adapt to them a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, you know, everyone wants to kill you in the United States and everything, but you don't really have to worry about the Americanized areas in Germany, because the Germans are going to be Germans no matter what. And the things that you have to worry about when a city becomes Americanized, you can't do that in Germany anyway. So you don't have to worry about it. You go out in Stuttgart, Germany, it's the one that I went to. You go outside the base every day, and it's just like walking around in Frankfurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, James. Send me an email so we can schedule an interview about Germany.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate it, man.
Peace out.
All right, man. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning into the stream today. If you guys enjoyed that interview about Brazil, and you guys are interested in visiting Brazil, I have a travel guide for Rio and Salvador Bahia, my two most recommended cities in Brazil. I've been to Rio, Recife, Salvador, and now Sao Paulo, and I'll be spending another 4 weeks here in Sao Paulo. So there'll be a travel guide for that as well. We are also coming out with a playbook with even more information in the travel guide sale. And I appreciate you guys have been getting travel guides every single day. So some people think that, oh, nobody benefits from the travel guides. Trust me, I have people that have bought 5 and 6 travel guides this year, and I didn't come out with them until January. So people have called in that went to Buenos Aires, and I need to clip that part for advertising. But they have bragged about how I've walked them through exactly where to go when they get there, what to expect to spend, whether if you need cash or not, where to double your cash in places in Argentina. So if you guys are interested in that, go to theaustinholloman.com and click on the travel guides, and you will be able to pick up one for yourself. And if you want to speak to me one-on-one about living abroad or any other questions you have for me, I'm your guy. I've been to 21 countries, about 43 cities around the world now, with Sao Paulo included, I believe. There's about 43. Either way it goes, it's over 40 cities. And you can find that all at theaustinholloman.com. I appreciate you guys. We will have another interview tomorrow. I love you guys, and I will see you guys next time. And thank you for the super chats and cash apps as well.